Welcome everybody to BDA Boxing Podcast, broadcasting to you live from the true north. This is your good friend Mr. BDA, flying solo for the moment. Late night edition. I was doing a little writing, miscalculated with my coffee intake, and so now I am a little bit jacked up. So I decided what better to do than a late night podcast. It's a beautiful day today here in Canada, Quebec, Canada that is. I think it's about 17 degrees. I got the window open. I smell it all, baby. Garbage, weed. That's nighttime for you, baby. And I do believe we got a lot to talk about. A lot of, gossip going on in the boxing world. Of course, Terence Crawford's all the talk of the town nowadays. And I decided, you know what? I think a chapter over here, BDA Boxing, is just what the doctor ordered. Before we get down to the fun, let's get the business out of the way, fellas. You know the drill. If you want to keep this gravy train rolling, you can certainly do so via the Super Chat feature during the show. You can also go down to the BDA PayPal page or the Patreon page. But of course, the most important thing is that you guys continue to subscribe and to like and to spread the BDA gospel. Speaking of the support, shout out to Triple JJJ, Jim McDonald, MMA's Champ Boxing Dynasty, Carlos Ruiz, Mike from Boston, Iceman, Kid Tubbs Call, and many more to come, I am sure. Thank you guys for joining us. I really appreciate it. You know what? I'm going to be opening up the phone lines here, and I'm going to be inviting, I see Jay's in the Discord. Give me 2 secs, Jay. Yes, so for everybody that doesn't know what's going on here, I mean, there's a couple of things to talk about. We got the White versus Povetkin rematch coming up this Saturday. It's going to be an interesting one. We also have Terence Crawford coming out today. This is via the sun.co.uk, which is a yellow journalism publication, but nevertheless, it's all over the other boxing publications as well. This is what Terence Crawford had to say about Canelo Alvarez. Terence Crawford accuses Canelo Alvarez of ducking black fighters in shocking blast as they give him the most problems, says Crawford. This was from the Zone interview with AK and Barak. AK and Barak, for those of you that don't know, those of you that may not have the Zone, are the two Middle Eastern gentlemen that look, that for some reason are trying to look like they're Puerto Ricans. All right, so he says he's shied, speaking of Canelo, away from Jermall Charlo and Demetrius Andrade for a long time. When you look at Canelo's career, it's like he's shied away from the black fighters. I think the black fighters give him the most problems. Why would he all of a sudden say that? I don't know. We're going to find out. We're going to get to the bottom of this. By the way, somebody's saying it says no shows available. Can you expand upon that, please, man? I don't know what that means. No shows available. Can somebody help me out here? Do you guys... We're live, right? Yeah, okay. I see people in the chat room. All right. Listen, we're going to talk about this. I want people to call in, by the way. I don't just want to talk about this. I want to get everyone's opinion. So I'm going to be inviting a couple of people on the Discord to see if anybody's available. Oh, when you call. Haha. Okay, hold on. I'm going to open up the phone lines. It's going to take about 2 seconds. But in any event, yes, just to remind you, Terence Crawford did indeed say that Canelo is avoiding African Americans. Now, look. Canelo's persona non grata in a lot of these parts. He's certainly enemy number one. But I think, him saying he's avoiding black fighters, I don't know about that, man. I don't know. One of the criticisms that I heard was that, hold on a second, he didn't fight Charlo back in 2016. That 2016 year, by the way, from Canelo is indefensible. I mean, what was he doing? Fighting Amir Khan and Liam Smith and Amir Khan and Liam Smith. I mean, that's the best he could fight. Those are the two guys he found. Then again, I want to get to the bottom of this. What was Jermall Charlo doing at the time? Because everybody wanted Canelo to fight Golovkin. So by him not fighting Jermall Charlo, is that really the big fight that everybody wanted to see back in the day? This is who Charlo was fighting. Or whom he was fighting. He was fighting in 2016. Austin Trout, Julian Williams, good fight. And then he fought Jorge Sebastian Highland and Hugo Centeno Jr. What a year, 2017 to 2018. Oh, and then he almost got his ass beat by Matvey Kohorov. So Canelo had the Golovkin fight, which was the fight we all wanted to see back in the day. So this whole thing about him avoiding Charlo, not really valid if you ask me. All right, I got the phone lines open here. Now let me just invite a couple of people on the Discord, and I'll get to the calls. But yes, people, call in. I want to get your opinion on this malarkey going on with Terence Crawford. Him saying Canelo is avoiding black fighters. He's avoiding black fighters. Is that who's heard of such a thing? I don't know. We're gonna get to the bottom of this. Hold on a second. I'm just stalling here, making a little time as I try to get some people on board here. I know Jay wanted on. There we go. Oh, you know what? Gonzalo's probably up at this time of the night as well. Let me invite him just in case as well. Did I invite Jimmy? No Jimmy yet. Hold on a second. 2 seconds. Phone calls and I will get to you. I see we already... And I might be opening up a StreamYard as well. Why not? All right. Let's go to 928. 928. You're on the air. 928. What's on your mind?
I don't really I think Terence Crawford you know he's a little bit crazy for saying that. He's fought a lot of African Americans and he's only lost to one of them. So I don't know what he's talking about by him hiding.
Well, let me ask you this, man, because Terence Crawford said that's the type of style that gives him problems. Him being Canelo. I started scratching my head and thinking, wait a minute, who doesn't have trouble with a guy who moves and who fights defensively and who will not set his feet unless he wants to throw just one shot and then continue moving or holding? Who doesn't have trouble with that type of style?
Yeah. I don't know. Well, he says that most African Americans give him trouble. So look, let's see. Daniel Jacobs, that fight. Or no, let's go. Mayweather, yeah, he gave him a lot of trouble. And then from that, who else did he fight?
Trout, Lara.
Sugar Shane Mosley. He fought Mosley. And then what did he do to Mosley? He destroyed him. And then same to Daniel Jacobs. He didn't destroy Daniel Jacobs, but, he won that fight clearly.
Yeah, I thought he did better than Golovkin. Now, I got Stu here on the Discord. Stu, are you there?
Yeah, what's happening, BDA?
Hey, good
Late night in the UK.
Yes, man. I'm surprised you're here.
Sleep, so I saw you guys online, so I thought, why not come on for half an hour?
Well, I miscalculated the amount of caffeine I drank because I was working on something, and I said, oh, crap, I can't go to sleep now. So I decided, like you said, do a little episode. We're talking here with a caller because I don't know if you heard the news, but Crawford came out and said that Canelo's, he's avoiding black fighters. And me and the caller were talking, and we're trying to get to the bottom of who doesn't have trouble with elusive fighters, because that's what they do, right? They want to frustrate you. They move. They only plant their feet to shoot one shot, and then as soon as they do that, boom, they're back to moving again. So, is there any validity to what Crawford said?
Well, no, not really, because it depends who the black fighter is, isn't it? If it's if it's a fucking bum, then it doesn't matter whether he's black or not, does it? It's about footwork, like you said. It's a lot of the American fighters are back foot fighters with good footwork, foot speed. So then there's also, like you said, Kirkland. I mean, he's an African American. Is he woke up yet? Come on, man. I mean, where are we gonna fucking end with this nonsense in boxing? I mean, it's just an uncalled comment for. I mean, even if Crawford said he struggles with a bit of footwork and a bit of speed, then do we have to start bringing these sort of comments into the fucking sport when it's bottom of the barrel as it is? I mean, I just don't get why he said it. I mean, if Crawford's so opinionated all of a sudden, then why don't he get in the ring with Canelo? I don't fancy his chances very, very much, I'll tell you. So look, Canelo's the best fighter in the world for me, so I don't see him ducking anyone, no matter if they're fucking white, black, pink or blue. Do you know what I mean? I just don't see Canelo. All right, there's some bad names on there. There's some names on Canelo's resume that you just can't defend. You know, you can't. Even as a fan, you just can't defend some of them names, man. But there's also some very good names on there. Like I
Mhm.
said, there's only a couple of fights ago for Jacobs, wasn't it? And last time I checked, he was an African American.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. So let me ask the caller this. Caller, uh, he mentioned Crawford mentioned Jamal Charlo as one of the black fighters that Canelo is avoiding. Now, the argument I heard was that Canelo ducked him back in 2016, but back in 2016, everybody wanted to see Canelo fight Golovkin. So if Canelo would have fought Charlo, who at that point his best opponent had been Austin Trout and Cornelius Bunrich, what do you think the reaction from the public would have been?
Well, I think if Canelo would have fought Charlo back in 2016 or 2017, I feel like the public wouldn't really like it because everyone was liking Golovkin. Everyone wanted Golovkin, and the fight was done. They got the fight that they wanted. The public was happy with it. But if he would have fought Charlo, everybody would be like, "Oh, Canelo this, Canelo that. Canelo didn't want to fight Golovkin because he was too scared. He said he wanted to fight Charlo." You know.
Mm-hmm. So, in other words, you don't feel that Crawford's criticism is valid?
Yeah, it's not valid. Like I don't know.
Well, what about but let's talk about Canelo's competition or lack thereof, because we've had people coming on this show and we've had that debate with the panelists about how Canelo is not taking on the best opposition. Even there's accusations that the fighters he faces are paid off and they're told not to fight. What do you think about Canelo's opposition, and what do you think about Billy Joe Saunders as an opponent?
Oh no, that's complete BS. I get most people would be mad because he fought Yildirim, but again, Yildirim was his mandatory. He was supposed to fight him back in December, but instead had to fight Callum Smith. But what I think of Billy Joe Saunders, I don't think Canelo will knock him out, but he will for sure put up a good fight with him.
All right. Yeah. Well, listen.
I mean, look, people can moan about Billy Joe Saunders all they want, but really, when you look at it, who else is there in that division for him? I mean, there's not many names unless you're gonna have to drag Golovkin up, or you're gonna have to go up and get Turbiev really for this guy to be in a real tough fight. But Billy Joe Saunders is not.
Well, they want Caleb Plant.
He's the next best thing for me.
Would be good.
Sorry.
They want Caleb Plant. He said.
Caleb Plant would be good.
Ah, Caleb Plant. Well, I suppose he's African American as well, is he? I mean, come on.
he's what you would consider a wannabe.
You never know. Sometimes in
look, listen. When you look at it, Crawford's not really thought this over properly because the way Canelo is at the moment, there's just not really many of these guys he's explaining around at that division at the moment. And look, he knocks Andrade out cold. Charlo, I mean, let's calm down. I like Charlo; he's a good fighter, but let's calm down a bit here. He fucking scraped a win against Matt Korobov, like a lot of people thought he shouldn't have got. So, Canelo's a different animal to Korobov. Let's calm down a little bit here.
I agree. Now,
sorry. Who else is there out there? I mean, look, I can't really think of any African American fighters, as Terence Crawford would say, that is going to trouble him. I don't know. Help me out, guys. Give me some names.
Well, let me ask Jay this. Jay, we've got Andrade and Charlo being mentioned by Crawford, but those guys are middleweights. Jay, well, Jay, what do you think about Crawford's criticism of Canelo saying he's avoiding black fighters because they cause him the most trouble?
Look, you guys know that I'm one of the biggest Crawford supporters on this channel, but I think I'm a little tiresome of his rhetoric, especially after some of the stuff he said that has nothing to do with this conversation. But Virgil Ortiz isn't ready, and I'm done with Spence. And now he's trying to make these comments here. It sounds like he's trying to make himself relevant when all he needs to do is sign a contract to take a freaking fight. That aside, it's someone that likes to play a card to try and make themselves relevant. Mm-hmm. I mean, now I'm not going to totally side with Canelo because I've questioned some of his opposition. I've questioned some of his wins. I've questioned some of his methods on how he went out of his way to avoid Golovkin for a while. The proof's in the pudding when he gave up a belt and it still took 2 more years to make that fight after that. So, and he gave up the belt in what? I think late 13, early 14. We didn't get it till almost the end of 15. So,
the thing is, Crawford, Sorry,
I mean,
Jay.
it's okay. I have my reservations about Canelo altogether, but super middleweight division is not crawling with African American fighters like James Toney and Roy Jones, and Chris Eubank, like it was back in the day. And that's the division he's competing at because that's the weight he can make. He can't make
I
160
want,
anymore.
yeah, I want to ask a question. How many
Go ahead.
top African American fighters has Crawford been in with? That's the big question. I mean, look,
Fair point.
no Porter, no Spence. You know, none of these guys. No Keith Thurman. So,
I mean, there's reasons for that, but yeah, you still have a point. Even before that, he could have fought Lamont Peterson down at junior welterweight. He could have found a way to get for Bob Arum to make Tim Bradley because they were both promoted by the same guy. So even though those other guys you mentioned, there's reasons why they won't fight. It's all political.
Yeah,
it's all he said, she said. But there are African American fighters he could have faced, and he hasn't. So you make a good point.
I just don't get it when a fighter comes out and knocks another fighter that's got a much better resume than he has. I mean, look, we can't even. I like Crawford. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a top fighter, but we can't even get this guy to get in there with Porter and Spence. I'm not saying it's all his fault, but sometimes you've got to give a little in negotiation to get these fights made. And he doesn't look like he wants to budge anywhere. He's quite happy to stand the high ground and then end up fighting, well, B-class fighters. And this is the problem with Crawford. He needs to start getting big fights soon. And it's, you know what I mean? All of a sudden he wants to talk. When he's in a fight, any press conferences and stuff, he's like a fucking balsa wood, don't want to say anything. Oh, now all of a sudden he wants to talk.
He needs to lay off the sauce. He's on something, man. I mean, I don't know. I got my own theories. I'm going to get to that soon. But, caller, anything else you want to say before we move on?
Well, I just want to point out something that Canelo is 30, and he has fought Triple G twice. He has fought Mayweather, Jacobs, Austin Trout, Miguel Cotto, Kovalev at 175, and he's fought Lara too. Well, Crawford is over here at 33, and his best win is against Paul Stoll or something like that. I don't remember his name, and that's in my opinion. That was his best fight, his best performance.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know why Crawford is talking now. In my opinion, and a lot of people's others, perspective, that was his best fight. He hasn't really had a challenge yet.
It's a good point, caller. It's a very good point. Anyway, we're going to continue this conversation because I want to get to the bottom of things. So thank you for your call, and we'll catch you in the next one. All right, man?
Yep.
Take it easy.
Bye.
Take it easy. Bye. Good call. Let's go to another call, 847. 847. 847, you're on the air. 847, what's on your mind?
847, that's from Chicago. But, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, man.
Loud and clear.
Oh, okay. No, and I just wanted to comment on the topic. Like, a lot of things I've been seeing lately, well, as of late, especially with the Charlo brothers, like, I feel like they're still hyped to a certain extent. Because, like, as you all remember, they had that big PBC event where, like, one of them lost and then the other one, like, arguably lost. And ever since then, like, I feel like they've been putting, like, very easy fights. But, I mean, I don't think there's any validity to what Crawford is saying because, I mean, whether people like it or not, Canelo's a new Floyd. He can fight what he wants. He fights who he wants. He does what he wants. I mean, I don't think it's black or white. I think it's about money, and Eddie Hearn is making sure he gets that money right now.
Right. I mean, but it's pretty, in a way, irresponsible of Crawford to make these comments, too, because he's the guy that's, whether it's his fault or not, the big fight for him is not happening. And a lot of people are criticizing him. I do believe, in a way, unfairly, because we don't know all the details of who's holding the fight up, although people have their own versions. But the fact that he would go on and say that about Canelo, and the other thing is, Charlo and Andrade, those guys are middleweights. So if Canelo fights middleweights all of a sudden, the people that are already criticizing him for fighting the best super middleweights are going to say, oh, he's not even fighting the best super middleweights, now he's fighting middleweights. So it seems like he's in a bit of a...
Cool Kai had fucking Andrade all over the gaff. Right. Staggering all over the place. He was holding on for dear life. He was about 10 seconds away from getting stopped. Canelo Alvarez will destroy Andrade in devastating fashion, and you can take that to the bank. That guy, look, like one of the most overrated fighters in boxing. I'm picking Liam Williams to beat him.
Oh, well, listen. Click your heels 2 times, Dorothy. It might happen. I certainly
Charlo's
don't.
a good fighter. But hang on a sec. Charlo's a good fighter. Yeah? There's no doubt in that. Charlo, I thought was really impressive with his performance
Mhm.
against Derevyanchenko. But what has he shown? What has he shown anyone to convince them he can beat Canelo? I just don't see what they're seeing. And it's going to take a bit more than having a black skin, really. Crawford. It's going to take a bit more than that. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. I don't think
Yeah,
this
I'm with you on
Ridiculous
that.
comment.
Go ahead, Jay.
So well,
Yeah, I mean,
when the
oh, go ahead.
well, okay, I'm sorry, there was an echo. That was me. I thought it was the caller. So when the older Charlo first burst onto the scene, and he had just beaten Brundage for the title, everyone was like, "So what? You know, Brundage is old." This is not the fact he beat Brundage he was supposed to. It's how he beat him, how calculating he was. And I was telling everybody, I said, "That's my Spence beater," because I didn't know he was going to go to middleweight and be 2 weight classes away from him. I said, "That's my Spence beater. That guy's going to beat Spence if they ever fight." And so I was high on him for a little while. And then the career started to stagnate. It went sideways. It just kind of went mediocre for competition. Kobarov barely won that fight. He did look good against Derevyanchenko, but Derevyanchenko's he's 30 what? With over 100 amateur fights. Went 12 rounds with Jacobs and Golovkin.
That's right.
And now he beat him soundly, and he beat him more soundly than the other two. But that's also showing you the fact that he's a B-plus fighter at best, because he can get himself to a title shot. He can't win it. You're not an A-plus fighter if you can't win it. In this day and time, with all the freaking belts there are with the sanctioning bodies, if you can't win one, you're not an A fighter. And he's just not an A fighter. He can't win a title. He's tough, but he's just not an A fighter. So all you did basically, other than prove how good you were, is you exposed Derevyanchenko as being a very tough B-plus fighter. And
That's a great way to put it.
unfortunately, that's not his fault. He took on a guy that's tough, and he owned him like he was supposed to.
I totally agree. I totally agree with that. Derevyanchenko's one of them
We're
fighters.
2 for 2. I told you we agree on some things.
Yeah, well, he's one of them fighters that I don't think he's ever going to win a world title. But to get to a world title, I think you got to go through him. If you get what I'm saying, he's one of them. He's like a gatekeeper. He's a tough customer, and he'll test you. But like I said, I just think he's a B class for me. You know, a B. You know, he's not a top fighter for me. Not world class anyway.
Well,
I know
caller,
he's got a good amateur background, but like you said, we're in a business of winning things, with boxing. You got to be a winner. It's no good fucking. Oh, well, he nearly won that. He nearly won it. No, but he hasn't, and that's the thing.
that's
And
right.
then you want to. That's Charlo's probably best win, and then you're trying to say based on that performance that he can beat Canelo Alvarez. This is my point, man. I'm Derevyanchenko, good fighter, but yeah, nowhere near the level of Canelo.
Caller, what do you think? Do you agree with Stu? Do you think what should Charlo do, or what does he need to do to earn himself a shot at Canelo?
Well, BDA, going back to a great point you made, and I actually made this point to people like a month ago, and I keep forgetting because we keep talking about it. You're right. We're talking about middleweight here. Like, as far as I know, Eddie Reynoso made a comment saying something like, Canelo might be interested in this Charlo fight in the future at 168. Big might. But then everybody takes that as like, oh, he's ducking Charlo, this, and that. But, yeah, I mean, I agree with Stu. I think that, he's right. And also going back to Crawford, man, and I hate to say this, I mean, I'm from Chicago. I'm from the U.S. I've been living here my whole life. That's something to me that, like, black people say. And I hate to say it like that, but it's like I'm still in, like, some of the Facebook boxing communities, and it's like, yeah, it's annoying, and I don't really, dabble into it as far as, like, commenting on it.
Yeah,
you're never going to end with those people. But at the same time, like, that's the whole rhetoric that they have all day, every day. Like, all black fighters are being avoided. Like, even, Terence Crawford went on a rant on a couple interviews about how, like, Lomachenko
They said
was
about
so much
Mayweather, though.
more promoted. Yeah, way more well promoted than he was, and it just seemed like he was, trying to make it a racial thing, and like his family was chiming in and all types of things. Like, To me, there's
Yeah,
no
well,
substance to it.
that's
I mean,
what the United
Canelo
States
does
has
what he wants.
become now, and it just a fucking race baiting cesspit. And then
Yes, it has.
Yeah, and
when people can't
I live here, and I can tell you, I agree with that.
well, when people can't get the attention for what they do, they go another route and try to bring like race tensions into it. They think the best way to make a name for themselves is be another Kaepernick sort of guy, and it's just becoming corny now. You've seen it a lot with athletes doing it. Like I just don't fucking. I want to keep all that shit out of boxing, man. It's just ruined the sport for me. It just makes the whole community toxic, and this is one of my patience is running thin with a lot of people. I mean, look who we have to deal with, man. Even Terence himself saying that. What a fucking piece of shit for saying that. If Canelo had said, do you know what I mean, Terence is avoiding Mexicans, do you know what I mean? You know them guys would have jumped on him and,
Now, here's the icing on the cake, Stu. Imagine if Tyson Fury would have said that. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't see the point. Even if Crawford had said, look, he's avoiding American fighters, black American fighters, with a bit of movement, like a bit slick, with good footwork. And, I understand that, but he's just saying he's just avoiding just black Americans full stop. When, if I can remember rightly, James Kirkland's black and he fucking got knocked the fuck out. Jacobs got schooled. I mean, Lara and Trout, they were close fights, but I had him winning both of them. I mean, he fought Floyd Mayweather at 22. I mean, Floyd Mayweather, one of the best African-American fighters ever. And yet, Canelo fought him at 22, 23. So how is he avoiding anyone? This is what I'm saying. Crawford, this is Crawford. He can't even get his own house in order.
No, I know.
This guy can't even get his own house in order. He's up to 147. He's bringing these dead beats from the UK, like Khan and Brook, both cokeheads, both fucking like to swing both ways by the sounds of it as well.
We don't know.
Come on, man.
We don't know that. You should say allegedly, but
well, allegedly, and well, listen. You don't worry about getting done. There's about 150 videos on YouTube about people calling them things, so don't worry, man. But look, I'm not accusing anyone, but this is where Crawford is. He's Khan is a terrible fight. Let's be real. Khan is a terrible fight. That, and then Brook. I like the Brook fight. I was hoping Brook could come back and show us half of what he had. Unfortunately, it's gone. But it's still not a great name for Crawford right now. So he's not in a position to be knocking Canelo's resume.
Hey, caller, you're from Chicago, right?
Yes, sir.
Are you friends with Kevin from Chicago? Are you familiar with him?
Kevin?
Yeah.
No, I'm not familiar.
His name is Kev. Well, they call him Kevin the Enforcer because he walks around with his head shaved, looking for minorities in his neighborhood. He's sort of like a leader in his neighborhood. You've never heard of him?
No, I have not.
Well, we're going to introduce you one of these days when he calls in. Anything else you want to add before we move on?
The only thing I wanted to add was that, we can make a case that Floyd Mayweather didn't fight as many black fighters. You know what I'm saying? We can make a case that
that's a solid case.
I was huge on Crawford. Like, I'm gonna be honest. Like, I was huge on Crawford. Like, I even had him top pound for pound because, like, I don't know. It was said in the other chat the other day. Like, and it really opened my eyes. Like, he is fun to watch.
Sure.
He is fun to watch. Like, it's fun to see him switch styles and go at somebody. It's fun to see him finish an opponent off. But yeah, like, enough is enough. Like, like the as far as we know, the offer for Manny Pacquiao was there, $10 million. That's like at least 3 times his career high payday. I understand he doesn't want to go to the Middle East because there's less chance that Bob can get the fix in there. And yeah, the whole thing. And another thing that bothers me about him, that really does bother me about him, is he doesn't try. Like, when you talk to him, they're like, oh, so how do you think you could make the fight happen with Spence? It's not my job to make the fight happen. That's my promoter's job. I don't have to do anything. That's his whole thing.
I agree. I totally agree.
And to me, it's freaking annoying.
So
yeah, listen, I totally agree with that. Crawford seems to be he's quite an entitled guy, man. He seems to think that the world owes him a favor. That's how he comes across. He doesn't.
I'll be listening.
Listen, what effort does Crawford
take it easy, man. Thanks for calling in. All right, sorry, I was just saying bye to the caller because he.
What effort has Crawford put in, right, to try and actually get his name out there and build? Sometimes you know it takes both parties, the promoter and the fighter, to build a brand. You know, Crawford just sits back and wants everyone to run around for him, making him a star.
So
you know, he's not even willing to take pay cut to take a big fight. Do you know what I mean? I just.
So
No, man.
my mixed
Look, as
emotions
a
on
fight,
this
I
is
like Crawford, but I'm not sure if I'm going off this guy, man. I really am. I hope Errol Spence knocks him the fuck out. To be honest.
Oh, wait a minute, Jay, you're not gonna let him say that, are you?
Oh, well, I got a bunch of stuff to say to this. Let's start with the fact that this is more about his comments than it is about his career, because his career's definitely got an asterisk next to it. He's got two asterisks. It's got one for the fights he didn't have and two for the fights that can't be made.
Sure.
I mean, they offered Sean Porter career high. They matched his career high guarantee, and he turned it down. They offered Danny Garcia career high, and he turned it down, or he was never shown to him by the PBC. So, and then of course Spence, they won't even go to the negotiating table. They offered a 50, 40, and 10% of the winner, which would be 60-40 if Spence would step up and knock him out like he says he can, and he won't take that much of an offer. So, I mean, this is all stuff that's in the news, printed and out there. Carl Moretti's even attested to it. So the fact it's coming from Top Rank is, I mean, I know Bob Arum as the kind of guy, I've lied to you yesterday, I'm telling you the truth today, but Carl Moretti's a pretty reputable guy within the boxing world, and he's the one going on record saying these things have happened. So for the fact he hasn't fought anyone since he moved to welterweight, the PBC owns welterweight, and they don't want to fight him. Now, he's not standing up there saying, Bob Arum, get me this next fight, or I'm leaving you, or I'm taking you to court. He's not doing that, so I side with Stu on that. Spence isn't doing that on the other side either, to be fair. He's not going anywhere near saying that.
Yeah, so, but Spence is not the one coming out with ridiculous comments right now, is he?
Well, so, now that's a different part of this conversation, because we're talking about his career. If we're talking about his comments specifically, I'm fully on board with this. That he should keep his mouth shut until he goes out of his way to make these fights happen. On another note on this, is he's specifically mentioning Andrade and Charlo, from what I'm understanding, because I didn't read this article. But the big thing is, why haven't those two fought each other? I've actually posted on BDA's site through Discord from a Ring magazine that I don't remember the date, where it actually said that they were scheduled to fight, and it never happened. So if they would have actually already fought each other, there would be an argument that someone's being ducked now, but they won't even fight each other. And so I got nothing on this.
I know where Jay's coming from. This is definitely not all Crawford. Obviously, these other guys are to blame as well. You know, but the thing is, like with Crawford, the way I see him come across is a guy that's just not too fussed if he has big fights or not. Not too fussed about getting himself out there, making a name, you know, and trying to build his pay-per-view numbers up. But let's be real, they're not the greatest, are they? I know Jimmy was talking about. I know Jimmy's talking about him having 2.9 million viewers on one of his fights, but that's not pay-per-view. It doesn't matter how many. That's how you know how popular a fighter is, when people pay to watch the guy. Anyone can turn a fucking channel on and watch it for 10, 15 minutes and turn it back on again. But when you're paying for it, you watch the whole thing, don't you? You get your money's worth.
That's right. Now, if I may say something here real quick, man, because I want to get back to that point. Chris K just donated a super chat. Shout out to Chris K. He says, Crawford and Spence are avoiding good fighters, period. Well, they're avoiding each other. That's the main problem. Also, we've got a phone call, so let's get to it. Late night comfy episode here. Don't forget to hit the like button. 813, you're on the air. 813, what's on your mind?
Oh, man, just quick question, y'all. You know, the fight was not being made at first between Spence and Crawford for a long time. And when we saw the Fury Wilder fight, we were like, oh, this could be possible. But then Tyson Fury runs off on the rematch. Is that the end of the way?
Sorry, you're fading away a little bit. Can you please get as close to your phone as possible?
Oh, shit. Hold on.
Yeah, it's okay. But yeah, man, this fight not happening is one of the travesties of boxing. Travesty, I say. Yes, go ahead. Go ahead, caller. Oh, he dropped out. All right. Well, listen, I think he's going to call in, but I just want to read a comment from Bucho in the chat room. Shout out to Bucho. He says, Errol Spence and Crawford, they think they're Floyd and Pac-Man. That's a great point, man, because, look, Pacquiao and Mayweather, they could have, they were milking the fight because, you know, Pacquiao could face Marcus again. He had that Mexican following. He could fight Bradley. At that point, he was stretching a little bit when he fought Bradley. Mayweather could take on Mosley and so on and so forth. But there came a point where even they couldn't milk it because nobody wanted to see those. They wanted to see those two guys fight each other. Spence and Crawford do not have that luxury. There's no. You know what I mean? So
no. Well, neither one of them are making the money that Pacquiao and Mayweather were making on their own without fighting each other. I mean,
look, to be honest, though. Yeah, sorry, Jay, but to be honest, I don't really care too much for this fight. To be honest,
I've lost interest in it myself.
It's not one of that. Look, they're good fighters, and they were. I'll definitely tune in to watch it if it does happen. But it's not one of them where I'm too fussed if it don't, because it's going stale a bit for me. We've been talking so long for it's just going stale a little bit, and I think we could be in where we're in with another Khan and Brook, where they waited so long to make it happen. They're going to end up like begging us to take that to take that fight, aren't they? That's what they're going to do. They're going to be begging us to watch it, begging us to buy it. They're going to become desperate, Khan and Brook. They're going to end up fighting each other, and no one's going to want to watch it. This is the problem. I'm not saying Crawford and Spence are going to get that low, but it's going to get to the stage where no one really cares, and that's why they need to get it done now.
Right. Tyson and Holyfield were both great fighters on their own. That fight took forever to make, but it was worth it because they were great fighters. And they were already Hall of Famers without that fight against each other.
Tyson Holyfield. Tyson was one of the most famous men in the world. That's the difference. No one knows fucking Crawford outside Nebraska.
You're helping me make my point. Leonard Hearns, same thing. De La Hoya Trinidad, same thing. Now we're going to get to Crawford and Spence, and it's more like Curry, Milton McCrory. They think that they're Pacquiao Mayweather, but they're actually Curry and McCrory. It's a unification fight, probably for most of the marbles. But at the end of the day, they'll be the best welterweight for now, but they're not going to be the best mentioned with the best welterweights of all time. Even after that fight, they're still going to have to build their legacy off of more. And
Jay, what was the first offer Spence give Crawford then? Was it 60-40?
Yeah, 60-40.
See, Crawford, Crawford should have called his bluff and took the fight, because if Crawford wins that fight, he's going to make far more money in the rematch, and the world is oyster. Look, Anthony Joshua. Say we like about Joshua, but he's a smart businessman, man. I mean, like I said before on this show, Anthony Joshua took like 25% of that purse against Charles Martin. Charles Martin got $7 million in that fight. You know what I mean? He took 75% of the purse. But Joshua gave him that because he knew he was going to spark Martin out in no time. And then the world was his oyster, getting big fights with Klitschko and at Wembley. So sometimes you've got to take a loss to gain in the future. But these guys are holding on to their money like they're never going to get paid again. I mean, it's fucking ridiculous.
Hey, by the way, fellas, can I interject?
Wasn't he already...
Can I interject real quick? Because the caller from the previous caller we had who dropped out is calling back again. Let's just get to him first real quick. 813, you're back on the air. 813, can you hear me?
Yeah, can y'all hear me now?
Yes, fantastic. Go ahead, man.
Okay. Yeah, my background is about to get a little crazy, so I just had a question / statement. Fury Wilder, damn, here it goes. Fury Wilder didn't really help, with the rematch and shit falling out. That really didn't help this situation either, But that's all I got. My background's about to get crazy.
All right. Thanks for calling. Is that it? Or caller?
Well, I'm lost a bit. A bit. How does Wilder and Fury have anything to do with this?
Well, I think he's saying that
the cross promotion. Can y'all hear me? The cross promotion going sideways after, right? The rematch. I'm saying that's not helping this situation either, right? Yeah, with all the other hurdles that was with making this fight, and then Fury doesn't give Wilder the third fight, it's like, that didn't help,
Hey, caller.
Yeah, but
caller,
Wilder brought that on himself.
Stu, I'm curious. Stu, I'm just real curious real quick. Caller, are you in the UFO or something? Caller. All right. Thank you for
Oh
calling in.
no, it's my background, man. My background's getting kind of loud, so I was muting in and out.
Yeah, but are you in the subway or something, or what's going on?
Nah, I work at the airport.
Oh, at the air. Oh, okay. I heard a fucking That's what I heard.
Yeah. So you hear a
Yeah,
helicopter in the
look,
background.
caller,
That's why.
caller,
Yeah.
caller. The thing is with Wilder,
Yeah.
right? He brought that on himself by the way he accused Tyson Fury of doing basically every dirty trick in the book with no evidence, slandering his name. You know what I mean? And then just being a real piece of shit. Let's be real. I mean, would you want to fight a guy that calling you a cheat?
Truthfully,
And
Wilder
he's already
didn't
fought
say
him twice.
anything until Fury was having another fight. Truthfully, Wilder didn't come out with that crazy ass video until Fury said he was running. You know, he's gonna fight somebody else in December and some shit in the UK. Remember?
Deontay Wilder. Hang on a sec, caller. Deontay Wilder waited for the contract negotiations to basically to expire, so the date that expired before he comes out and opens his mouth again. He went missing. It was like fucking Lord Luke, and no one knew where he was. There was spottings in Brazil somewhere on a beach with Wilder. He fucking went missing, mate. I don't want to hear it. He waited all that time for the negotiations to expire. Then he comes out from the woodwork with opening his big mouth, mate. Get out of here.
All right. Well, now we're getting into something else.
Me personally, I don't know which way that goes. Me personally, I'm on neither side with that. I don't know which way that went. But if it was, I have too many questions, right? I'm in the middle on that because why did they go to mediation? I don't know, man. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know. But that was just some thought I was having. Like, well, damn, I don't think that Wilder Fury situation helped with the Spence Crawford cross negotiation. You know, with them doing a cross negotiation. You know what I mean? I don't see how that would help anything. But that's all I got, y'all.
I got your point. It certainly seems like boxing nowadays. I mean, we were talking about that. Steve Kim called in on Sunday, and he's about had it covering this the business side of the sport, or more exactly the diva behavior that some of these fighters are exhibiting. Now, my thing about this is this Crawford Spence fight reminds me a little bit of Gamboa Lopez from 5, 6, 7 years ago. Obviously, I think Crawford and Spence are better fighters than those guys were because they haven't gotten exposed by lesser fighters. But at the same time, my point is that if they keep on thinking that they are the A side and that the boxing world needs this fight and, you know, they're bickering with each other, it could pass us by and then somebody else comes in and steals the spotlight. Look, you already got Virgil Ortiz coming in. You got J. Ron Ennis coming up, although some people think he's not that good. You got Besputin coming up in the welterweight division and so on and so forth. So while these guys think they have all the time in the world, there's always somebody new that swoops in and takes away the spotlight. Oh, by the way, 813.
You get complacent, mate.
Yeah.
You get complacent while you're standing there strolling around with your nuts out, thinking you're the top boy, doing nothing. These hungry lions are working their way up to the top. And before you know it, they're passing you. You know, you've got to take these fights, big fights, when you're in your prime, in your best years, because you know that's why I don't understand why these fighters are not taking fights 2 or 3 times a year. I mean, the prime of their life, right? It's a chance to make big money and get out the sport with your faculty debate, but they want to fucking hang around. Do you know what I mean? Fighting the chumps. You know, I've just had enough of boxing. I really fucking have, man. Just had enough of this sport.
Well,
with you.
This Crawford Spence fight is the one that people are really, you know what? The good thing is that there's a lot of good fights out there coming up. I mean, we got Ramirez Taylor, who incidentally might end up fighting Crawford because he doesn't have any welterweights right now that that ain't happening with the PBC. So maybe the winner of Taylor Ramirez could fight him. Then you got Tyson Fury Joshua coming up. We got Dylan White versus Povetkin coming up. The rematch. That's a fight between two top heavyweights. You got Canelo fighting Billy Joe Saunders. Say what you want about Billy Joe Saunders. That's a top super middleweight. So, you know,
how many of them American fighters that you just mentioned? This is a problem, man. I think it was it Ring IQ said that the problem is when American wins a title, they fucking like sort of hold up the division sort of thing, and he's right. And fight big fights don't get made. I think it was Ring IQ said that, and this is the problem. This is our argument now. He's talking about Canelo ducking the American fights, but these American fighters, man, They're not
ducking each
taking
other.
these big fights.
Yeah, it appears.
And Americans agree with me. When I say that, most Americans agree with me.
You don't hear me arguing.
Yeah, well, Jay's as American as he gets. He's as American as apple pie, and he's keeping it real, man. He's with this Crawford Spence fight. We're all getting a little bit sick of it. We got Gonzalo on the Discord dropping by. Gonzalo, you there?
Yeah, hello, BD. Do I got a crazy echo? Because I'm here in the ICU in the hospital.
That's fine. Yeah, I mean, there is an echo, but it's not. I don't find it distressful or anything. Hope you're doing well, Gonzalo. Hope everything's going fantastic with you, or go about as well as you can. Did you hear the comments that Crawford made about Canelo?
I read a headline about that.
Sure. Okay. Well, what are your thoughts on that?
It's like stereotypes and going back to I don't know. Yeah, stereotypes. It's nothing of that can logically be true for another man to, in a nutshell, describe another man and put him in the sense of like his color, that one guy would be afraid of him because of that specifically. I mean, I don't believe that.
Well, in a way, fellas, is there a certain validity to the styles of certain demographics? Meaning, the stereotype of Mexicans is come forward, left hook to the body. With blacks, it seems to be that since they're more athletic as a whole, they fight in a more defensive. Is there a truth to that?
Yeah, there's a truth to that. It cannot be 100%, but yeah, most of the African Americans will be the back foot slick fighters, that throw combinations, that, they try to outpoint you. Not saying that they can't punch, because historically, I mean, there's been a lot of great fighters that can punch harder than anybody, man. And, so it's like, what is it? Nowadays, what's trending is that style could be characterized as boring. And maybe since the market is centralized in the Mexican-American culture, and then not specifically, not only that, but just to mention that, I mean, maybe that's not a popular for the ticket sales, and people don't want to see that.
Hey, mate, Gonzalo, mate, you smashed that on the head with a hammer. Great comment, bro. I couldn't have said it better myself. Exactly what it is. I mean, but I just don't think that this American slick style, that back foot style, I think that was a case when Floyd Mayweather was at his peak, sort of thing. There's a lot of guys come out and try to be Floyd, didn't they? We had a fucking generation of these American fighters coming out thinking they're Floyd Mayweather, and ended up being more like Andre Berto. So that's the problem, But a lot of these young American fighters coming through now, they look like they're hunters now. They're coming after these guys. They're like Tank and Spence, Crawford. These guys are not really sitting on the back foot, flicking out the jab anymore. They're killers. Do you know what I mean? And I think they've got some really good fighters coming through in America at the moment. They just don't want to fight anyone, and that's the problem. I mean, look at Tank Davis. Who's that guy fighting? Nobody.
Well, he's fighting in the courts now.
I'm about to start on him in a second.
Porter's the only one. Porter's really Porter and Spence, but even Spence needs to fight a few more good names before he gets my respect like that. But Porter's the one for me. Porter, the one that gets no credit from anyone, but he's the one that fights anyone, anywhere. He gives it 100%, and he's always in a fight. Porter, great fight, Porter. He should be a star in America, not fucking Crawford, who's bringing back Cal Brook, who's fought nobody. Come on, man.
Can I say something real quick about Charlo? Just real quick about the stereotypes of styles. Of course, we can't stereotype, like Gonzalo said. You can't paint with a broad stroke, because whatever the fucking expression is, because obviously there's always exceptions, right? With Mexican fighters, there's Estrada. He doesn't come forward all the time. Charlos, Crawford said that, he's avoiding black fighters, so he was referring to the defensive style. But Charlos not a slippery fighter. That's not to say that he's easy to hit, but what I'm saying is he's mostly a boxer-puncher, completely different from Andrade, who's a more defensive fighter. And by the way, Andrade's offense is really mediocre. The guy's a slapper. Yeah. Sorry, Jay. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah. No, you're good. So stereotypes are real. They in America, they're always doing civil rights training and saying how you shouldn't go by stereotypes. No, stereotypes are real. However, they're not gospel. Mm-hmm. Okay, so leading back to what they were saying, everyone did want to be like Floyd Mayweather. Well, in the early to mid '90s, they all wanted to be like Pernell Whitaker. In the late '90s, they all wanted to be like Roy Jones. Matter of fact, Floyd Mayweather's style, minus the shoulder roll, leading with that left hook and leaping in with a left hook, the way Roy Jones did, mimicked Roy Jones very much. If people go back and look, the way he would hook off the jab and he'd leap in with his hooks, just like Roy would. He used his right hand better, and he had a little bit of the Mayweather style, but he mimicked a lot of what Roy did with flurrying with that hook and everything else until he came into his own. So there's always been, and well, in the '80s, every fighter wanted to be like Mike Tyson and knock everybody out. So there's America's all about fads and following what's the biggest thing right now.
Yeah, but would you agree, Jay?
Go ahead.
Would you agree though? Would you agree though? There was like a generation of American fighters coming through when Floyd was the main man. They all tried to be like Floyd. We saw loads of them. They were like cheap Chinese versions of Floyd, weren't they? I remember, look at Broly as a prime example. You know,
I was just about to say
it really hurt boxing. It hurt boxing because we got a lot of fights where the fighters were just on the back foot, running, holding and stuff, and just nicking it with the jab sort of thing. And we don't want to see that. And I think it hurt boxing. But I do believe that this new generation of American fighters have got a bit more killer instinct in them, and they seem to be bangers. They seem to go after these guys instead of running from them. So, but the problem is just getting them to fight someone.
I'll agree with everything.
Having a great defense is a good thing. Having a great defense is a good thing. I think with fighting, there's kind of like a morbid aspect that people wanted to see how a defensive fighter can deal with the pressure of a come forward fighter. And now that people got to see that, and they saw this guy that pick and chose with good matchmaking and took that to the limit and retired undefeated, and he showed great defensive capabilities, they're like, okay, yeah, you can get credit for that, but it's easy not to get knocked out and to stink a joint out and win on points by pop shotting and maintaining that persona. But that's not really fighting in itself. Fighting, people want to see two people come forward, offense and defense combined, make it into something else. And now that boxing has recaptured that, it's revolving. It's evolved, but it's revolving. We're taking it back to where people want to see exciting fights. They're not going to give credit to those guys that want to dance on the outskirts of the
exactly, Gonzalo. At the end of the day, this is the hurt business. Remember where boxing come from? Bare knuckles. The reason there's Queensberry rules because it was that brutal, right? That's why people tune in to watch boxing. A lot of casuals, especially women, because they're as bloodthirsty as men. No, half of them, aren't they? They love to see a good fight, especially a big one, big fight. And it's about punches being thrown at the end of the day. Like, most people don't look at a fight and think, cool, that's a nice bit of footwork. Only the snobs. You know what I mean? We want to see people getting punched in the face. Let's be real. And you've got to entertain. And if you don't, then you're going to have problems selling pay-per-views. Like, and I think Crawford understood that in the end, because I think that postal performance really hurt him. Because when the few people that did tune in saw that dreadful fight, I mean, it was horrible, wasn't it? So you've got to entertain. Look at Rigondeaux. Rigondeaux had his big chance on a big pay-per-view card. I can't remember which one it was. It might have been Mayweather or something like that. And he stunk the joint out. Threw 6 punches around. I mean, and then he wonders why no one.
That Cuban style's just not made for
but what I'm saying is, it doesn't matter what style it is. It doesn't matter what style it is, Jay. It's still not good to watch. 6 punches around for a guy that's a fucking, what is he, a bantamweight? Come on, 6 punches around. I mean, that's your chance to put yourself out there. Everyone's talking about how good this Rigondeaux is. People tuning in have not seen him before, and they watch that.
My point is, name me a Cuban fighter that's really kept your attention for a very long period of time that's been exciting.
This is why none of them do. Yeah, but this is why none of them do good numbers, and that's why none of them really. They're good fighters, but how many Cubans are stars around the world?
They're good amateur fighters. Once you start to add in full 3-minute rounds, once you start to add in full 12-round fights, once you start to add in the fact that running after you build an early lead after 4 rounds and then moving the rest of the fight doesn't win you fights in America, then that's where some of them, that's why they don't always turn out to be the same successes as they were in the amateurs. It's an amateur style. They've perfected it due to that computer scoring, and no one uses computer scoring in the pros. So Cuban fighters don't make great pros all the time. Some of them stand out, but really They're saying Casamaro is a Hall of Famer. I don't agree with that, except for the fact that Arturo Guy is in the Hall of Fame. God bless him, and I love him. But by those accomplishments, I can agree with that. But by his accomplishments alone, just looking at what he did, no, he's not. He never will be, never should be considered that. Neither is Rigon Diao. Neither is any other Cuban fighter that's turned pro and defected that I can think of. But they, like I said, they've perfected this style. They win these gold medals, and the people want to turn them pro because they think gold medals equal money. And as we've seen, it doesn't turn out that way.
Well, no, you don't even have to be Cuban. Audley Harrison. I mean, how that guy won a gold medal is a mystery. It's an absolute mystery how that guy won a gold medal. You only have to look. Well, because I can't remember. I think it was Athens or something. I can't remember. It was a long time ago. But you've only got to look at what sort of talent was in that division at the time for Audley Harrison to come home with a gold medal.
Well, didn't David Price win a gold medal after that?
Yeah. Sorry?
Yeah. Didn't David Price win a gold medal also?
No, he won a bronze, I think. Bronze, yeah. James DeGale won a gold. He went on to do good things. Khan won a silver. I mean, like I said.
Yeah, man. DeGale really went off the wayside. Huh? With he got old overnight. That guy. I mean, going to war with Caleb Truex is.
He just took too many punches. He just took too many punches. Every time he was in a fight, he looked like he'd been hit by a truck.
Oh yeah, remember that the famous photo where he looks like a bum? Hey, by the way, we're talking about Crawford versus Spence in a way because it's an adjacent subject to what Crawford said that Canelo's avoiding Andrade and Charlo. First of all, I got something to say about that too. I just remembered. Like I said before, Charlo is not a slippery fighter. He's not an Andrade-like fighter. But if Canelo fights this guy, then most people, from what I gather here, want to see Canelo fight Benavidez, and they seem to be working towards that. Number two, with the Andrade situation, well, Canelo's going to be fighting the white version of Andrade, which is Billy Joe Saunders. So I'm not saying if he beats Saunders, then that automatically means he beats Andrade, but it gives us an idea of what could potentially happen in a fight between those guys. So I don't understand Crawford's point in that regard. I also wanted to mention. I don't know if you guys saw, somebody posted on the Discord, so you may have seen it. Errol Spence was at the Virgil Ortiz fight, and Fight Hub, they conducted a quick interview with him. Did you guys see it?
Yeah.
I'm going to share it here. Okay, well, yes. I'm sharing it here with you guys on the Discord. I'm just going to play a snippet, and you guys tell me what's up with Errol Spence, right?
Fight? Oh, I mean, he did good. Errol, we're just a few miles away from the AT&T Stadium. It's going to take maybe 2 more years to make a fight happen between you and Virgil. You feel like you could fill up the stadium?
You can fill up
the stadium, the AT&T Stadium, if you face Virgil Ortiz.
All right, now, we got a couple of hardcore partiers here in the Discord. People who have seen their share of fun. Does he look drunk, high, both, or just normal? What do you guys think?
Well, I'm not a partier.
Coke Dab isn't that. Coke Dab isn't that.
I mean, I went 20 years in the military without drinking.
Yeah, but BDA, nobody. I don't know who said that the guy was supposed to quit. I don't know if we, like the boxing fans, said to ourselves, "Oh, this guy's supposed to quit." But just because he got in that accident, he never said, "Oh, I'm gonna stop drinking." That's his life, right?
Yeah, but I mean, it's pretty interesting though that he almost killed himself while drinking and driving. And by the way, isn't his case still pending in regards to that?
I don't know.
I believe there's still an open case on that. So him showing up like this, and by the way, that might not be the most bizarre thing in this video. The bizarre thing is this guy behind him. I don't know if it's his bodyguard or his best friend or both, but he seems to be pretty touchy-feely there with Errol Spence, grabbing him by the hips. Look at that. I think he's trying to escort him out. But the people in the comment sections caught on to that as well. And somebody says, LOL, his bodyguard wants to keep pushing him. Somebody says, Spence is always drunk as fuck when he attends these events. Somebody says, Errol security behind him like dudes when they're leaving the club with the girl. Somebody says, that's exactly how you push up on your girl when she's getting too much male attention in the club. So people are saying that the bodyguard is a little suspect. Somebody says that there were more comments here. Yeah, somebody says, damn, is that Errol's boyfriend behind him? Dude's a little touchy. So what do you guys think? I mean, first of all, Spence appears to be drunk, high, or both. Then you got this big ass guy behind him putting his hands on him as if he's a girl. I mean, we're talking about Crawford mishandling his career a little bit. Seems like Errol Spence not doing a better job himself. What do you guys think?
Well, when he first had that car wreck, there were people out there saying, "Oh, that was his management's fault." The blind support to either side, any fighter, and I've been guilty of this to an extent, but not towards Spence, of defending someone for their own actions, and especially in this country, is just fucking ridiculous. He was a grown man. He made his decisions. He's still making his decisions. He did seem drunk. I did 20 years without drinking in the military, but I babysat a lot of drunks, and I can tell when someone looks drunk. He looks drunk.
Really? Okay. That's interesting. That's an interesting.
Having said that, his bodyguard moving him along, it looked like they weren't prepared for an interview, and people were going to start asking questions. They were moving him out of the way because Uncle Al wasn't there to tell him what to say.
That's a very interesting.
The whole it's the circus act, that PBC fight. They're fighters, man. They're clowns, all of them. The fucking circus act, man. It is.
I can't stand the PBC.
I seen that behavior before with Pacquiao. When you try to get close to somebody famous, just like a regular person, the bodyguards, they act really zealous. Some of them just kiss ass too much, that they want to be in good with the boss. That you get close, they get all defensive. And this guy, the guy was just asking some questions. We gotta go. But him grabbing him by the hips, that's a little awkward. Big dude, kind of street guy. That's the type of guy you want to have around. But come on, man.
You are getting it for sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Why are PBC guys always doing sort of like strange things like homosexual sort of acts without doing anything? You know what I'm saying? It's like they've got. It's like they're all bursting out on the scenes to just come out and tell the world what they really are. I mean, they're always touching each other, aren't they? Talking about dicks and stuff. And oh man, these guys, what is wrong with these guys, man? Broner's the worst.
Yeah, man. I mean, you're right. There's Broner and Tank Davis, especially that video from Tank Davis where he's tap dancing in his underwear in his kitchen and like he's singing show tunes. I mean, there's something real suspect going on there in the PBC.
You got Wilder twerking away and telling the world he wants to get pregnant one day and carry him. I mean, this fucking guy. These PBC fighters are proper weirdos,
Yes.
Oh man. By the way,
speaking of Tank Davis, though, have you seen the fact that he's got 14 counts of charges against him for hit and run and other stuff?
Yeah,
that could keep him in jail for up to 7 years.
Yeah,
I'm willing to guess if it goes to trial, he'll serve at least two of those if he doesn't have a good enough lawyer. And let's see here, at 26, that would put him at 28 to 30 when he gets out. His career may be done.
Oh, let's hope not, man. Let's hope. It seems like he woke up one day and decided he wanted to outdo John Jones in the field of running into people and running away afterwards. I mean, this guy, 14 counts. Now, like you said, he might not be going to jail for all those counts. It's probably going to be some sort of plea deal or whatever. But even then, he's already got precedence. He's got precedence with the law. So
John Jones don't give a fuck about anything, does he?
No.
He just does what he wants.
No. He's a nut job, man. He's running into
pregnant. I quite like John Jones, though. Like I said, mate, I do. I know he's a bit of a fucking loose cannon, but I do like Jones.
I don't like him. I think he's a narcissist and a sociopath. But
fair statement. His brother Chandler's a lot better.
His brother's a football player, right?
Well, he has two brothers that are defensive linemen. One was a interior lineman who I think used to play for Baltimore, and then Chandler Jones is now on the Cardinals, but was a Patriot when they beat the Seahawks.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, listen, I don't like John Jones. Yeah, go ahead, Gonzalo.
Going back to real quick, I just want to make a point about Terence Crawford. He have a whole lot to say about fighters from other divisions, but when it comes to his division and who he faces, he's really not giving the answers. That's kind of weird, kind of contradictory.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this comment was completely, the comments he made about Canelo were completely out of the blue. Alan, you bring me to this point. My theory is, you guys tell me what you think. First of all, he knows, especially after Saturday's comments, where he said that the Spence fight is in the past now. I think he realized, oh shit, I got to get the spotlight off of me. And second of all, he might be pandering a little bit to the LDBC faction because those guys don't like him. They prefer Errol Spence, so he might be trying to get in their good graces by throwing Canelo under the bus. I don't know. What do you guys think about that theory?
I don't even really know what the LDC WXYZ you keep referring to is. I've never really associated with that. So I've heard you say it many times. I don't know what it stands for. I don't know who it is. I don't know who the writers are. I don't know who the promotion company is. I don't know anything about it. But it does appear as if they're hardcore PBC fans and they like worship the ground they walk on. They're probably Mayweather lovers too, and they don't reason with the logic of the sport of boxing. They just go by their own slanted point of view. It's the way is what I'm drawing my conclusion from the way I hear people describe them.
You've got it 100% right there, Jay. That's a 100%.
Well, great. Bring them on the show, and I'll debate one of them.
Well, we've tried. They don't want to. We've tried. They don't. I think I don't know. I think we smell bad or something. They don't want to come around here. Listen, they've segregated. They've segregated. Yes, go ahead, Gonzalo.
Sorry, the only relation that I can make between Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez that they're considered to be the number 1 or the number 2 pound for pound guy. Now, Crawford might be getting a little defensive because a lot of people maybe as of like these last few months have been putting Canelo first, and Crawford feels like he's slipping, he's falling behind, that he's got to make these comments to bring himself up again as the number 1 guy.
Yeah. That's a possibility I get as well because again, it's PR. I don't think he has a PR guy or woman. I think he just says whatever he wants, and he tends to fall into the bad graces of boxing fans. He went on the Joe Rogan podcast and really stunk the joint out. His trainer had to do more talking than him. By the way, real quick, shout out to damn, did I already miss one of the super chats here? Hold on a second. I gotta go back a long ways here. All right, you know what? Let me do this, and we got a phone call too, by the way. So, real quick, shout out to Virtue. Okay, Chris K, who said, who's worse, 135 or 147 divas? Good question, Chris K. We're going to get to that. Shout out to you for your contribution.
Answer is yes.
The answer is both, maybe. Hold on, let's get to that. Then Virtuoso donated the super chat as well. He says, at least Wilder isn't in legal trouble. Tank and Errol Spence are more likely to pursue a stunt driving or Formula One career rather than focus on boxing. Well, yeah, man, a bad career at that because they keep crashing. Shout out to Virtuoso and Chris K for their contributions, guys. Let's get to the phone call real quick. Here we got, before they hang up, 719, you're on the air. 719, what's on your mind?
Yeah, I think Crawford is right. I think he's having his black awakening moment when his white promoter degraded him. He finally realized that the white man is not his friend. Bob Arum degraded Crawford and compared him to a house in Malibu or some shit like that. And goddamn it, Crawford is right on point. Canelo has been running from black fighters, or elite black fighters, I should say, since 2013 when he got beat up by a 36-year-old lightweight. And it is what it is, man. Canelo, the fear of a black man is in his heart, and that's just how it's going to be until he retired. That's why he moved to a division that's full of Caucasian men, Caleb Plant, Rocky Fielding, Callum Smith, Billy Joe Saunders, and he said he'll never fight a Mexican again. So Canelo has to just sit there and fight white men just like he wants to, and he probably sail off into the sunset and retire afterwards.
So you're saying that he's justified in being afraid of black people. Why should he be? Are you saying that most people should be afraid of black people? Is that what you're getting at?
No, I'm saying Crawford is right. That's what I'm saying.
So if you see a fellow...
It's justified. I understand why Canelo thinks it's a risk. I mean, he already got curb stomped by Floyd Mayweather, so why would you fight another elite black fighter like Andre and Charlo? It's just going to happen again and again, maybe in a worse fashion. He's a bigger, stronger guy. He's not a lightweight, not a 36-year-old lightweight like Floyd was. So just imagine But
Right, who
Charlo
made
get
him
his hands on him.
weigh in 2 pounds under the limit, right? Yeah, okay. And what about the fact that Charlo turned down a $7 million offer to fight Canelo? I don't want to hear this.
Are these
And this
excuses
thing
you're about
about
to list off?
I'll let you respond to me when I'm done, but let me finish first. And then this whole hyperbole that Floyd double talks out of his mouth, this bad talk about, I'm sorry, possibly the greatest promoter, maybe not the nicest guy, maybe not the most ethical guy, but possibly the greatest promoter in Bob Arum, who made George Foreman a millionaire, Larry Holmes a millionaire, Marvin Hagler a millionaire, Tommy Hearns a millionaire, and well, oh wait a minute, Floyd Mayweather a multimillionaire. I don't want to hear that. Anybody that buys into that is just washed into the ridiculous hyperbole bullshit of race talk, and it's just ignorant. Please,
Well,
the floor is yours.
Canelo's he's armed with good defensive ability, and he's got a.
All right, Gonzalo muted himself. Well, Brotherhood, let me tell you, man. Oh, go ahead, Gonzalo. All right. Let me go.
Okay, sorry.
Let me go then. Listen.
He's got,
Listen, Brotherhood. I mean, what are you doing, by the way? It sounds like you're jogging or something. Are you jogging?
I'm taking my daily walk. Yeah, I always walk when I talk on the phone with you guys.
You sound a little out of breath, man. Maybe you should do some jogging and get yourself in shape, man. I don't know. By the way, speaking of, because you're saying it's okay to be afraid of black people. Are you afraid of black people as well? If you're walking right now and you see 3-4 black people coming at you at night, are you gonna cross the street or are you gonna stay on that sidewalk?
If I see what? What did you just say?
If you see 3 or 4 black people coming at you on the sidewalk, are you gonna change? Are you gonna cross the street or are you gonna stay on the same sidewalk?
I mean, me, I'd stay on the same side, but Canelo, he would cross the street.
All right. Yeah, but listen, we're talking about what Crawford said, the comments. He said that he's afraid of Charlo and Andrade. He was also sort of intimating that Canelo is afraid of an elusive type style. But let's face the facts. Charlo doesn't have the same style as Andrade. He's more of an offensive-minded fighter. And Canelo's the guy that went in 24 rounds with Triple G. So why would he be scared of Charlo? I don't quite understand that.
He is not.
I mean, Crawford's trying to tell you, it's because he's black. That's how more straight do you want it, man?
So you're saying that it's okay to be afraid of black people? So you're saying it's okay to be afraid of black people? Is that what you're saying?
Is it okay to be afraid? I mean, he's scared of Mexicans too. He just said he don't want to fight Mexicans either. It's not just black. He just want to fight white people from now on. Now y'all should probably be alarmed at that. He wants to beat down white people for the rest of his career. That's kind of racist, don't you think?
Well, I mean, he's saying he doesn't want to fight Mexicans. What Mexican is out there that could challenge him? Munguia?
Aside from Ramirez, that's it.
I mean, when you say you don't want to fight Mexicans, and there's only one Mexican in your weight class that's a threat, or even in the top 10,
Benitez.
Then what you basically saying? I don't want to fight Benavidez.
Well, he says he wants to unify 168, so he's probably going to get around to that at some point. But he wants to. His plan is to fight all the best super middleweights. He already got rid of Callum Smith, so I mean, I'm giving him credit.
Now, did he say he wanted to unify 168 before or after Benavidez lost his belt?
I don't know. I don't think he said anything.
He said that. Well, he didn't even really take over the division or step into that position until after Benavidez was stripped of the belt. Mind you, that as much of a Benavidez fan as I am, he did this to himself. He got hooked up on coke. He didn't train right. He got stripped of his belt, and that was his fault. That wasn't Canelo's fault.
Okay,
Canelo didn't push for that.
What does that have to do with anything?
Well, you just talked about he wants to unify the division, and you asked a question yourself. I'm talking. He said, you asked if he did that before or after Benavidez lost his belt. First of all, Benavidez lost his belt because of Benavidez. That is the key part to that question that you asked, and I answered.
What's your point?
Yeah, Jay, Brotherhood is looking. Jay, Brotherhood is looking, seeing right. Brotherhood is seeing right through your white tactics, man. He ain't having none of it.
I see. You're right. Honestly, I see right through that bullshit.
There's no
But
guys.
look. Tell me this.
There's no black fighters
Can I
with
make a
belts
point?
in the
Because
68-pound
you
division.
seem
So
to
what are you
think
just
that-
going to give an opportunity for somebody because he's black? Oh, I'm going to rank him number one because he's black.
Yeah.
No, it's
Well,
because he
in
earned his
addition-
position. They were both in position to fight Canelo, and Canelo ran the other way. Canelo had
Who?
3 belts, and Andre had the last belt. Canelo made it clear that he wanted to be undisputed at 160. Then all of a sudden, when it's 1 belt left to gain, all of a sudden you want to do all this other shit with your career. Even so, you.
Well, I
basically
do
lied
understand
to
the
us.
fact also that an offer
said
was
you wanted
sent
to be undisputed.
to Charlo, and he came back unanswered.
Can I finish? And then
Sure, go ahead.
When Charlo got into position to challenge Canelo for the WBC title and the rest of the titles he had at the time, what did Canelo do? He ran. So this.
How did he run when he didn't answer when he didn't return the offer? An offer was sent to Charlo.
Bro,
he did not
what
answer.
does that have to do with the franchise belt? This fake ass offer you bringing up. What does that have to do with with Charlo becoming his mandatory, like any other fighter is supposed to do, climb the ranks and become number 1 mandatory? Tell me what offer was sent at that point? None.
$7 million offer.
He took the franchise belt.
Well, there's Jay's bringing up a $7 million offer that you keep overlooking. But listen, I know we can go back and forth.
Completely ignoring.
Yeah, he's completely ignoring it. But Jay, the problem with Brotherhood is he doesn't like logic. So let's go with actual in-ring action. Let's go with actual ring in action. Brotherhood. Okay. If Canelo and...
Ain't no logic.
Oh, come on. By the way, who's the best? What black fighters are at the top of the 168-pound division? Who are the best black fighters at 168?
Andre
that's
Darrell?
The point. That's why he left 160.
Right. So if he moved to 168 because he already beat Triple G there and Daniel Jacobs, he's got to excoriate, or I mean, just decimate the whole 160-pound division. According to Jay, he sent Charlo an offer. Charlo didn't reply, as they tend to do over at the BBC, and he says, "Screw this! I'm moving up to greener pastures." Now, here's the question. Here's the question: if Charlo and Canelo were to fight right now, some sort of catchweight, I assume, who would you pick, Brotherhood?
The black man all day.
I think Brotherhood's trolling at this point. I don't know if he's being serious. But anyway, listen, Brotherhood, thank you for your call, man.
I don't blame him for picking that one. But I think the moment we get to Charlo.
Hold on.
I've been holding this for 5 minutes. Didn't Canelo fight at 168 before Benavidez got stripped of his title? Didn't he fight Rocky Fielding?
I don't know, man.
Then he went back down to 160.
Yeah, he fought.
But didn't he fight
to fight Triple G
before Benavidez got stripped of his title? Did you hear Canelo say anything about wanting to be undisputed at 168 when Benavidez?
No, at that time, no. I heard him say he wanted to fight
literally like a week after Benavidez got stripped, because why he don't want to fight Mexicans, aka Benavidez. So don't sit here and act like he wasn't avoiding certain fighters. Benavidez, Andre, and Charlo.
Listen, Benavidez, he's going around struggling with Ronald Gavril the first time, and then the second that he gets in shape and can't take it. So let's not make it out to be as if Benavidez is this big threat, because he hasn't really beaten anybody of note himself. Second of all, the Canelo. Listen, Canelo, he fights at Canelo weights. That's why they call him Canelo. He makes up his own weights. I don't like it, and you don't have to like it either. But to say that he's afraid of Andrade and Charlo is a little bit ridiculous. Anyway, Brotherhood, we got to go. There's another guy on the phone line here. But thank you for your call. Have yourself a good night. And you be careful out there taking your walk, man. All right? You don't be afraid to run if something happens.
Yeah, I cross the street of any Mexicans on my side.
Wait, that's racist, man. What the fuck? All right, take it easy, Brotherhood. Thank you for your call, man. All right, that's Brotherhood right there.
Damn, that guy, he made me sound like I'm a Canelo fan.
Yeah, that's what Brotherhood does, man. 668, you're on the air. 668, what's on your mind?
Yo, what's up? This is Bolt Hype. You hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Bolt Hype. What's on your mind, man?
Yo, man, I don't know. I think I can crush all of these arguments. So since 2012, right, Canelo has fought probably like 6, I would say brothers, right? I won't use any like colors or anything like that. I'll just say brothers, right?
Yeah, because that's not racist
those
at all.
Brothers are those brothers are way more talented than any six. Even if you can find six on Jamal Charlo's record, on Demetrius Andrade's record, on Floyd Mayweather's record, on Terence Crawford's record, I would ask anyone, go to Charlo, Andrade, Mayweather, or Crawford and find me six brothers on their record. Even find six if you can, in the last 8 years, if you can find. A lot of these guys are not fighting so-called black fighters as you are saying about Canelo. And about Canelo, look, the guy he's a bit of a tweener. I mean, he's got kind of a weird body. He's like wide but not tall. So he doesn't really fit into one particular weight class category. I mean, there's not a lot of 5'8" guys that are at 168 or 160. So, I mean, we got to cut him some slack. He's doing some pretty incredible things. But for anyone to say any fighter has fought more accomplished brothers than Canelo is being foolish. No one's fought the level of competition, if you just want to look at brothers, that Canelo has. And that's not even close. Go try to find six brothers on Mayweather's record in the last, 10 to 20 fights that he's had. Do the same for Andrade. Do the same for Charlo. Do the same for Terence Crawford. Do the same for Errol Spence. These guys are not fighting quote unquote brothers.
It's a great point. And for some reason, people discount the Daniel Jacobs win. Whenever they say, "Oh, he's never fought anybody in his prime," Daniel Jacobs. Oh, I mean, he was this, he was that, he was wagering. And I'm thinking, come on, man. I mean, look, at some point, look, I'll say it again. I dislike Canelo's character. I don't root for the guy. He rubs me the wrong way. But when people start saying, well, people don't try to win against him, they pull their punches, blah, blah, blah. I mean, is it really that much of, when you're watching him and you see him countering people to the body, is it really that much of a surprise as to why people don't just jump on him and try to let their hands? Even Golovkin couldn't do it. He had to fight the perfect fight in there, and he was a little bit more hesitant than usual in both fights because he had to be careful with those counters. But now, was he paid as well to pull his punches? I mean...
Exactly right. That's why I like to tune into your show, because you're knowledgeable about boxing. Is this Bucho or BDA?
It's BDA.
All right, BDA. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to say that, man. I hate when people try to bring up this like all of a sudden Charlo. Like back in those days, Charlo wasn't really Charlo like he is now. And first of all, no one's afraid of Charlo, man. Like he's not that good. I've broken him down plenty of times. Canelo washes Charlo. I would say Andrade probably gives him the biggest competition, or at least gives him the most problems. But he beats Andrade as well. There's really no one to challenge Canelo. Even Better BF. We saw the Better BF fight last weekend. Dude, Canelo would beat that Better BF. Are you kidding me? Better BF looks like he looked real basic. Like he looked like out of sorts. He did not show me any good boxing skills. He has some power, but dude, the guy went 10 rounds with him, something like that. Like it's not this crazy power. Canelo is in a class of his own, and please, anytime someone says he's not fighting black fighters, he's not fighting African American fighters, name the 6 best African American fighters on Mayweather's record, on Crawford's record, on Spence's record, Andrade, Charlo. They don't have 6 better names than Canelo does. So stop with all that bullshit. I'm gonna listen in, guys. Thanks for taking my call.
All right, thank you, Bull Hype. Thank you for your call and great points there.
That was awesome.
Yeah,
that was an awesome statement because it was right on point, and it kind of goes in line with the whole slight that Jack Dempsey got back in the day for not fighting black fighters, and Jack Johnson wins the title and doesn't defend against a black fighter, yet he's held in high esteem, and people try to say that Jack Dempsey's overrated because of that. It's the hypocrisy, and he just pointed it out.
Exactly, man. It's a certain look with Canelo and Jay. I think you've been here when we've had those debates about Canelo. I dislike the guy. I don't have to root for him just because he's good at boxing, but he is good. But I've been seeing a faction here of the YouTube boxing community that say that all of his fights are fixed. And I'm thinking, I don't know, man. I mean, listen, it's boxing. It's a dirty sport. Anything's possible. But I've seen fights.
Yeah, BDA.
Yeah, Gonzalo, go ahead.
Yeah, it's going to come a point in time, and actually I'm going to start looking very carefully at this fight coming up. Yeah, sure, okay, you could see Canelo as suspect, but I'm gonna start blaming these so quote unquote fighters. If they don't show up and they don't put up a fight, if they're not doing the business, hey, this is fighting, and you're fucking throwing away the fights, quote unquote, if you're doing that, I'm gonna start blaming those guys. Where's the fucking heart? Where's the fighter in you? If you're saying that Canelo, this Mexican dude from Guadalajara, is fucking paying the judge, he don't got a promoter nowadays. I mean, what's really going on? Are we gonna start holding the fighters accountable? The ones that are facing Canelo?
Well, you can't hold Triple G accountable for the fact that there's arguably 2 bad decisions. You may not.
No, that has nothing to do. We're talking about those fights that were supposedly thrown. That these fighters took a dive. Those fights, those type of performances, where the fighter's missing the jabs, where he's not shooting to land powerful.
Look, you know what it is to me? They're caught in the moment, which is what I think would happen to Charlo. They're caught in the biggest moment they've ever been in. Their eyes, they're like Zab Judah from the nose down against Cassius Judah. Nose down, he looked like he was stone cold ready to go. You look at it from the eye socket up, his eyes were wide, his pupils were dilated, they were glassy. He was not ready for that. And look what happened. He got knocked. Well, first of all, he almost knocked himself out in the first round, and then and I'll show that to you in another video. But then he did get knocked out in the second round. And that's what happened. He wasn't ready for the moment. I don't think Charlo realizes how big that moment's going to be when he gets in there, whether it's in Vegas, whether it's in Los Angeles in the Staples Center, whether it's in Dallas Cowboys Stadium, and how he's going to be in there booed in his own home state because there's going to be mostly Mexican fans there wanting to see Canelo win. Yeah, I don't think he's ready for that at all because he thinks people love him.
I want to get back to that just real quick. Chris K says the caller is saying brother with a hard R. LOL. Okay, that makes no sense. Thanks, Chris K. Thank you for your contribution, man. The hard R. I think that's pretty soon. You know what? In today's world, you never know. Eventually, they're going to start saying that brother is a pejorative term. But listen, to what you guys are saying, Bucho made a great point a couple of weeks ago when Billy Joe Saunders came out and said, oh, I don't think I can win the fight. And people said, aha, that's the aha moment. He's saying he's not even going to try. But could it also be a sense of, first of all, it's a completely very stupid thing to say. I think Eddie Hearn must have, I hope Eddie Hearn gave him a tongue lashing saying, what the hell are you doing? Saying you don't have a shot winning. But Bucho said, Billy Joe Saunders is going to go in there. What's he going to do? Is he going to pressure Canelo? Is he going to go toe-to-toe with him? No, he's going to do what he always does, to box from the outside. And if that doesn't work, and it probably won't, as most people are expecting, what are people going to say? Oh, he didn't try. Well, what do you want him to do? You know what I mean? It's like stylistically, he's not Gennady Golovkin in there. He doesn't have that type of firepower. So it seems like it's premeditated, or people already think, oh yeah, the fight's fixed. He's not going to even try. But what can he do? Go in there and slug it out? You know what I mean?
This is where I agree with some people who think, all right, let me rephrase. It's not that I agree. This is where I think people are getting the idea of that some of his fights are fixed. There are people out there that are convinced that Lara was robbed. Lara made him look bad. Lara wasn't robbed. There are people who think that Trout was robbed. How they think that, they don't know how to judge a fight. Maybe a draw if you want to think it was close, but it wasn't anywhere near a victory for Trout. Mayweather, he clearly lost that fight. One of the judges either had a draw or him winning. I don't remember off the top of my head. The two Triple G fights, some people thought, and most of these people are haters of Canelo, I'll acknowledge this, but most people thought he lost both of those fights. Yet both of them happened to go more in his favor, a draw and a win. So this is where I think people draw the conclusion that fights can be fixed. Not necessarily the fighters are taking dives, which I haven't heard that. And I heard Gonzalo saying that that's the case of part of the argument. My take is people saying that the fights are fixed because the judging is always in his favor. He either is clearly winning or in a close situation, he's getting the nod in something they don't feel he deserves. Which is why Billy Joe Saunders is saying, I can't win this fight no matter what, because even if I make him look bad, I'm still going to lose because the judges aren't going to give it to me. So that's my take on that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, look, listen, there's people also say that Canelo's got the cartels behind him. Makes you wonder how come Sergey Kovalev didn't have the Russian mafia behind him. I mean, they're all over the place, those guys as well. So, I don't know. It seems like, look, anything's possible. Right? In boxing, anything's possible. Just like it's possible that there's a pink elephant flying through the universe. But for me to believe that, I need some proof. You can't just tell me, well, those guys didn't land on him, therefore the fights were fixed. I think at this point, the Canelo hate, and by the way, I don't blame people for hating Canelo. The guy's pretty, like I said, dislikable. He's not a likable character. going around punching midgets and telling people to shush after he wins a race or close decision, and he shouldn't have gotten the first. You know what I mean? So I understand that, but to go as far as saying that all his fights are fixed, here's the thing that makes no sense. Everybody else got paid off. Kovalev, Callum Smith, Daniel Jacobs, but Golovkin didn't. He's the guy with the scruples and the morals. He refused to get paid, and he ended up giving the Canelo his hardest fights. Is it possible that Golovkin gave him a tough fight not because he refused to take a dive, but because he's that good, as is Canelo?
Yeah, because he actually wanted to win.
Exactly.
Because he wanted to prove to everybody that he was the best middleweight since Marvin Hagler, which I know people will argue with, but that's the case he was trying to make. And by beating, he had to beat Alvarez to try and make that point.
And I thought he did.
It didn't work, but that was due. I did too.
Right, in the first fight, then the second fight, the last time I rewatched it, I had Golovkin winning. But the point is, he didn't throw the fight, but everyone else did. Kovalev, Callum Smith. Right. No, it's just that those guys aren't as good as Golovkin. And Kovalev.
Don't forget Cotto decided not to show up that night either.
Cotto did what he had to, which is stick and move, jab. Freddie Roach kept imploring him to move forward and to pressure Canelo, which would have been suicide because he tried it in, I believe it was the 8th round or 9th round. They had a brief exchange, a 20-second exchange, a violent exchange where Cotto's head gets smacked around by Canelo's counterpunches, and after that he just decided to get back on his bicycle. There was no way Cotto, he did what he had to there, threw a lot of jabs, combinations, moved, but he just wasn't going to beat Canelo. Canelo did not muzzle him.
He was just too big. He was just too big. I actually thought that with the weight draining that Canelo was putting himself through causes some people's faces to swell. So I thought that with Cotto landing those shots that he was going to land, which he did land some of them, it was going to cause Canelo's face to swell up, and then he was going to finish him off late. None of that happened. Didn't even come close.
Yeah, I mean, it's listen, I'm getting a lot of hate here for this, but I this whole thing, Canelo's fights are fixed. I don't see it. I need proof, man. And people telling me, "Oh, this fight! Look at this fight! How the jab? He's not landing the jab." And I'm thinking, well, I mean, the guy's fucking parrying the jab. What do you want? It's you know what, man? I need some hardcore proof over here.
Well, if we're talking about the Callum Smith fight, who's 6'3" and he wasn't landing the jab. One, he wasn't stepping in with it. Two, like I said, he was caught in the moment. That was a big, big fight. There was a guy that really wanted to win on the other side. And there was a crowd that did not want him there, did not like him, and wanted to see him lose. He cracked. That's what I saw. That's what I saw. A guy who had the talent, he had the physical attributes, meaning the height, the length, and the physical gifts that Canelo doesn't have to beat him. But it doesn't mean he had the skill. It doesn't mean he had the knowledge. It didn't mean he had the ring IQ, and he definitely didn't have the will. Because if he had the will, he would have gone out on a shield and actually tried to do something early to get his respect. He didn't do it. The moment got to him, he cracked.
And by the way, I've seen the fight, the Kovalev fight, and I try to show clips of how he did try and he did load up on right hands and he got his ass countered. And it just seems like it's a no-win situation because I show the clips and some people will perceive it a different way. At which point I go, well, even when I've confronted people on the Kovalev fight, they just say, well, they admit there's no proof, hardcore proof, but that it's their perception and their opinion. Well, at that point, what else do you want from me? You can't say for sure, oh yeah, with certainty that the fight was fixed, but then again, you admit that you got no proof. It's one of those things that I don't like to discuss because I don't know if I can get anywhere with people. Speaking of people,
you can't.
Yeah. Speaking of people, we got a caller here, 226. You're on the air. 226. What's on your mind?
Yeah, how's it going, fellas? My name is Mikey. I'd like to discuss the show, please.
Slugger, how many times are you going to try the same tactic?
No, listen. Slugger guy, he's a gangster. Mikey's a serious caller. Mikey wants to talk about Crawford. No, I'm sorry, Crawford.
Oh.
Because he's a liar.
Uh-oh.
And he's a fornicator. And he's a sinner.
Well, listen, he's married, I think. He's not going around cavorting with people.
He is a fornicator because he has kids.
That's true.
Listen, he probably dodged his marriage. he probably dodged his marriage. Listen, Crawford dodges so much that the LA Dodgers would like to hire him.
Oh.
They want him to play for them.
Slugger Sam coming in with some pre-written material. Good for you, man. Now, listen. Crawford made some...
it's not listen. No. First of all, my name is not Slugger Sam.
Oh, come on.
I said it's Mikey, and it's not pre-written. It's not pre-written.
All
I
right.
don't like this Crawford guy. I don't like Crawford. He's a liar. He's been messing with us. Listen, he avoided Danny Garcia at 140.
What?
Back then. What do you mean what? What do you mean what?
I'm listening. Go ahead.
Oh no, that's just me laughing at you.
What are you guys laughing at? I'm spinning facts, am I not? Listen, the guy.
No, you're not.
The
Because I don't
guy.
even think Danny Garcia was. He was already gone by the time Crawford got there.
No, listen. You're wrong.
Yeah, go ahead.
You're wrong.
Give me the time frame.
I'm talking about.
Give me the time frame.
You're wrong. I'm talking about 2013. Right? They were both 140 pounds. Right or wrong?
I'm going to check that one for you.
You go to Boxing Rec and you do your homework, and then you come see me. All right? Now I'm sounding like
I'm doing your homework. No, I'm doing your homework for you. Since you just asked me a question and didn't have the facts
This
straight.
is me, Teddy Allison. You're Bradley. You're Timothy Bradley, and I'm yelling at you. Go do your homework, and then come see me.
Hey,
Okay? So anyways,
Slugger
I'm sorry,
Sam.
BD. I'm sorry. I
No, that's okay. That's okay. Slugger, I want to
apologize to
hear
you.
you. I want to hear your
Let's
best. I want to hear.
Especially since at 2014 he fought Ricky Burns at lightweight. So yeah, your facts aren't straight at all. But keep going.
Uh-oh.
No, listen.
Yeah, I've done my homework and I got an A
Crawford, believe it or not,
on the assignment.
hold on.
Now, what do you have in
Crawford
return?
became a professional. Hear me out. Crawford became a professional in 2008. And from
Okay,
there,
you got that
till
one right.
about 2013, believe it or not, hold on, believe it or not, in those from 08 to like 2013, he fought at 147, 140, and 135. Before he fought Gamboa, he actually had at least one fight at 147. Believe it or not.
All right, listen.
And if you go to Boxing Rec, you'll see what I'm
I'm
talking
going to
about.
Boxing Rec right
But my
now,
point
and no,
is-
he didn't. He fought at 142,
I'm
but
sorry,
that's a good ways
I'm
under.
sorry, come again?
He fought at 142,
I'm sorry, I
but not
can't hear you.
147.
I'm sorry. Now Slugger Sam he's going senile again, and he can't hear you. Listen, Slugger.
The gentleman's voice is real low, Mr. BDA.
Oh yeah.
BDA,
Well, listen.
his voice is real low.
All right, whatever. Listen. Speaking of low, can you please do me a favor, Slugger? For me, your old pal BDA. Can you scream in your most maniacal fashion possible? Just go on a rant, screaming as loud as you can, please.
What do you want me to scream about?
Scream about.
My cob. I gotta turn this stupid thing off. What do you want me to scream? What do you want me to say?
First of all, open the windows to your car window, because I want the whole neighborhood to hear you. Just start going.
Wait. First of all, hold on. First of all, did you call me Slugger Sam? I already
come
told
on.
you.
Yeah, you answered to it. Yeah, you answered to it.
Just go ahead, Slugger. Do it for me, man.
You want me to shout?
Just shout go on a rant about something you hate, man, or somebody you hate.
Yeah, go on a rant about me.
Okay.
Go on a rant
What
about
did the last guy say?
Jay. Go on a rant about Jay, and scream as loud as you can, please.
Who the fuck is Jay?
The guy you were
The guy
talking
that's
to
been
about
schooling
Crawford.
you on Terence Crawford.
Oh, jeez, Louise.
Oh, listen, that guy wasn't fucking schooling anybody on no fucking cameras. But first of all, you know what? First of all, let me tell you something, man. These guys
Yeah, go ahead and
boxing
listen.
today, they're a bunch of fucking punks. Hey, listen. You let me talk, I let you talk, okay? I don't go to your job and show you how to get down on your knees and start blowing. So you don't come to my job and start knocking men out. Because that's what I do for a living. You got that, pal?
Well, you suck cock for a living, you said? Is that what I understood?
No. Listen. Whoa, BDA.
That's what I heard.
Guy that I don't go to his job and do what he does. He would get down on his knees.
Uh-huh.
Dude, you couldn't even get to my office. So don't even try.
I don't care. I don't care what it is you do for a living. You know. Hey, BDA, don't you play those fucking clips when I'm talking. All right?
Make it fucking hurt. Harder, motherfucker.
Hey, turn it off, okay? I don't want to hear that shit when I'm talking.
All right. Listen, Slugger, I think you made your point. You refuse to scream at my request. I think it's about time we let you go, Slugger.
No, I will, because that guy.
You have a good night, Slugger.
That guy was interrupting me. I'll tell you what the fuck I'm pissed about. Wait.
Okay.
You want to fucking hear that? BDA? Listen, I'll tell you what I'm fucking sick and tired about, okay? Back then, you used to go to the McDonald's. You used to go to the Burger King. And you got a decent fucking burger, okay? Nowadays, you can't go without getting some fucking hair in your fucking burger. And I don't know if it's a little fucking thank you from them or a little fucking you're welcome. I don't know what it is, but they gotta fuck up every fucking order. You
were correct. It's fact.
I don't know what the fuck is the matter with these stupid kids. Can't even make a simple fucking order.
You were right.
And that's really about it. That's all I'm fucking pissed off about these days.
All right. Well, listen, thank you for your call, Slugger Sam. You delivered via the screaming. You are getting points. You're in my good graces now because of that. Thank you. Thank you, Slugger. Thank you. Thank you for your call.
Listen, I already told you, I don't know who Slugger is. I'm Mikey. I already said it.
Oh, Mikey, thank you for answering the name Slugger over and over again. And have a good night.
Yeah, you have yourself a good night there, Slugger. We gotta go.
Thank you, fellas. Great show. Love the show.
Thank you.
Best
Thank
show
you.
in the world.
Oh yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. We already know that. Thank you.
Yeah. Best late night show, huh? Wink,
That's right.
Late night.
That's right. Late night comfort stream.
Nobody's civil anymore.
Well, listen. That's up for debate. Take it easy, Slugger. Thank you for your call. Have a good night and drive safe out there.
Peace out, fellas.
All right.
Have a good night.
That was our resident schizophrenic, Slugger Sam, not Slugger Sam, Mikey, or whatever his name said it was.
Oh, that's one of a kind right there.
Yeah. Well, listen, we were talking about Crawford and the statements he made about Canelo. My question here then becomes, when it comes to Canelo fighting a guy like Charlo, I don't know what you guys think, but it seems to me like they're both very similar opponents. Or similar fighters, rather. They're both boxer punchers. Well, they're both boxer punchers. They don't exactly move around too much. They don't exactly come forward. They like to fight at long range, make the other guy miss, make him pay. They don't throw a lot of shots. I think Canelo's a better combination puncher, but they're very similar at the pace they fight. The fact that they can punch with both hands.
I would say that Canelo's the better body puncher and actually commits to it more than Charlo will probably throw an occasional body shot to try and open up a headshot. Or he'll go to the body if he's hurt you, because that's basic instinct 101 to a well-schooled fighter, but he doesn't invest in the body. He's a headhunter.
That's a good point. That's a good point. But I still see...
catch and shoot. He does a lot of catch and shoot.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to get at. In the boxer puncher category, both very patient. They don't go for it all out. They're content with the other guy giving them an opening so they can counter. But you're right, Jay. No body work really from Charlo. And by the way, Charlo, look, his best win again.
Or Andrade or his brother, or a lot of these. This goes back to that stereotypical part of the African American fighter. It may not be like Mayweather off the back foot anymore, but majority of them like to headhunt. Mm-hmm. Like they're not very. There's not you can't other than Spence's earlier years, which he hasn't shown as of late as much, and Terence Crawford throughout most of his career. Those are two exceptions, but for the most part, you look at, even though they're not that relevant anymore, the Durrell brothers at 168 headhunters, Charlo's headhunters, Andrade headhunter. Devin Haney appears to be a headhunter. I don't see him working the body too much. So it's just there's just a little, and I don't really remember Anthony Joshua or Deontay Wilder working the body very much. Not to say Joshua doesn't hit the body at times, but it looks like it's more to set up a headshot later than it is to try and wear a guy down.
Tank Davis is a good body puncher, and he has to be because he's the shorter tends to be the shorter fighter. But you're right. I mean, there seems to be some aversion from some of these fellas to go to the body. Canelo, of course, he'll go to the body all day and all night. Yeah, but a fight.
But that's a stereotypical Mexican style, so we're still fitting stereotypes to an extent.
Exactly. Well, listen, body work is a staple of the Mexican boxing. It is what it is.
Ruben Alvarez?
Sure, yeah. That doesn't mean all Mexican boxers are come forward guys, but whether they're come forward guys or whether they fight off the back foot, that left hook remains a staple of their arsenal. So, and it's why not?
Most sorry, BDA. Most all. If I'm going to say every Mexican fighter will go to the body because it's taught, it's inculcated, if that's even a word, do that.
It is. To me, not going to the body is like not throwing a jab. So why wouldn't you do it? Yeah, I know it leaves you open for counters, but could you at least try? I mean, Haney does try to go somewhat, but he's a bit of a slapper though. That's the thing, the problem with him.
Nacho Bearstein fighters didn't really work the body. They would use it when they needed to if there was an opening there, but they were, I would say they're headhunters. But I mean, Ricardo Lopez, So Marquez and Lopez were they were more counterpunchers. They were not quite pot shotters, but they would look for that opening, but they would load up big with that opening. And if that opening was a body shot, they'd take it. But it wasn't like they would purposely work the body.
Yeah. Yeah, Marcus showed...
But and you know what? And to be honest, I would have to say that another stereotype, which this is probably a little true, African American fighters are more explosive. Like you got like Gervonta Davis type of power, Mike Tyson and heavyweights. They'll have a little bit more speed behind their shots to where they can hit you hard. A Mexican will have to break you down, chip you down, and maybe going to the body is part of him doing the work he needs to get the knockouts. But a Mexican's probably not going to knock you out with one shot.
Traditionally, their power is more thudding and breaking you down style. You're right.
Yeah, you don't see a lot of Mexicans with fast twitch muscles, and that's why you see African Americans. They do well in football, basketball, and sprinting because they have those fast twitch muscles, whereas Mexicans for some reason. Although again, not to paint with broad strokes, but I mean, you got guys like Montiel. He used to be very explosive. Canelo's pretty fucking explosive. It's just that he has he doesn't move around. He doesn't dart around the ring in and out. So it's a little less evident. But his hands are quite quick. Jaguar says, I gotta work this body to get super chat money. Well, you don't gotta do anything, Jaguar. But thank you for your contribution, man. Really appreciate it. I gotta work this body to get super chat money. Oh, maybe he's a boxer. Jaguar, are you a boxer? Let us know, man. But what was I going to say? Sugar Atlanta was actually a pretty good body puncher. But then again, that's why he was an all-time great because he could do a little bit of everything in there as well. But
again, even though he could go to the body when he had to, like when he fought how he had to fight. So for the most part, I won't say he was a head puncher. He was a combination puncher, whether it was to the body or the head, or he'd work one up to the other. Like you said, he's a special breed like that. But a lot of those knockouts that you saw, those flashy knockouts when he 147, all those combinations were to the head. They didn't start at the body.
It's a good point. Yeah, they don't listen. Going to the body, it's dangerous. It's hazardous. You're dropping your hand. You know what I mean? Yeah, you're dropping your hand below your chin, and you're liable to get caught. But if you got proper foot placement and you do it quickly and you set it up through feints or through a jab, whatever, it can work, man. But a lot of guys just don't want to. Yeah, go ahead, Gonzalo.
Sorry, maybe it's a little bit of a delay. Sorry, BD. Yeah, hey, I see more fighters getting knockouts to the body nowadays. So, I mean, we're picking up from like the people from before. So boxing is advancing. Everybody's going to the body now, and if they're not, they should be. Because you're not going to be able to keep up with those guys that do. Those guys that are investing to the body, they're going to have that advantage. Because they're doing it with both hands now.
That's true, man. That's true. Don't discount body shots, because even when you think they're not landing, professional fighters will tell you with those little last gloves they have, they still feel a little something, whether it's in the arms, maybe a little bit behind the elbows. Maybe they're not the cleanest body shots, but the other guy's feeling them, man. And little by little, he's dropping his hands, he's dropping his elbows, and he's leaving a bit of an opening up there in the chin. So, yeah, I think most people should go to the body, but again, it's not exactly most.
You got to have the power to do that. Some people, when they go to hit the body, regardless of ethnicity, if you're not hurting the arms and they're blocking them with their elbows and their forearms, you're worse wasting your energy. Because Roy Jones used to do that. At 168, he'd just sit there against the ropes and let people pound those arms. It didn't hurt him because his dad used to beat his arms with PVC pipes, so it didn't bother him.
Oh, jeez, I didn't know that. Jeez.
That's the story he said. So I'm just taking from what he said, how his dad raised him. I'm not making that up. But yeah, that's how his dad used to tie up his right arm up to his face or behind his back and send him out there with a guy 2 weight classes ahead of him with just his left hand, say, "Go defend yourself." And that's why he became the special fighter that he was. That he was always calm under pressure. But back to the point of hitting arms and stuff. Bryant Brandon was not a power puncher. He was an aggressive guy, but he didn't have power.
Mm-hmm.
He pushed Roy back to the ropes, and he was beating all over those arms, and it wasn't phasing Roy a bit. It wasn't hurting him. It wasn't wearing his arms out.
But if you catch, if you catch somebody clean on the organ and the liver, man, you could hurt them. You could hurt them if you just catch them right on the liver, clean on the organ. Hitting to the body. It's like when you got a V8 truck and you step on the gas. Every time you step on the gas, you see that needle go down, man. That's how much that takes out of you.
So you're 100% right, but when you're like Ike Corte or Roy Jones, then when you fold up your arms like an accordion, they cover from your chin down to your belt, and they have that 22-inch waist, you're not hitting anything. You're not hitting an organ. You're hitting arms. And if their arms are as tough as those two's were, as tough as Corte's, especially Roy Jones's, and you don't have power, which Bryant Brandon didn't. He was a pressure fighter. He was a strong person, but he didn't have power. He could have beat on Roy for 12 rounds on his arms, and it wouldn't have phased him. His arms wouldn't have dropped. You got to have some kind of power, otherwise it's just not going to work.
But
I always thought that the best thing to find your target is to trade with the other guy. You could get knocked out, but if the other guy throw a punch and you throw with him, you can find the openings.
Yeah, well, Bryant Brandon found the opening on the canvas from doing that.
Yeah. Well, he had no shot, man. I mean, at least he went for it, but he had no shot at beating.
No, he earned his shot. He earned his shot at Roy, but that was as far as it was going to get, was a shot at Roy.
That's what I'm saying.
He couldn't do any better than that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He had no choice. Like, he was shorter. He wasn't going to unbox him. He said, "Fuck it, let me go try to outwork this guy. Try to see if I can knock him out." But it's interesting because Roy Jones always struck me as a guy. He would sometimes cover up, and his elbows would actually leave the body, and he would get whacked clean to the body and didn't seem to face him. I know those guys weren't exactly, Tommy Hearns or, when Mike McCallum fought him, he really fought him from the outside. But I was always surprised that he allowed guys to whack him clean to the body, and when he was on the rope sometimes, and he just wouldn't face him. That was
the only fighter that did that he regretted doing that with was Marky Sosa for the limited time that fight actually took place. Anybody else, he didn't do that against, he didn't let Reggie Johnson do that because he knew better than that. He didn't let James Toney do that or Bernard Hopkins do that because he knew better than that.
Mm-hmm.
He let Vinny Pazienza do it because Vinny didn't have a punch at 168. He let Brian Brandon do it because he wasn't a world-class fighter. So he did it at moments when he felt, and he turned out to be right, it was a gamble, but he turned out to be right, that he didn't have anything to worry about.
Right. Yeah.
But that's more the exception to the rule. I would say that you can't hurt somebody to the body more often than you cannot. We saw with Ortiz, he couldn't hurt Hooker upstairs, so hey, he went to the body. And if he wasn't finding the shovel hook, he was finding the straight shots to the solar plexus, right?
Right, yeah. Yeah, he hurt him there to the plexus, and I mean, he found... See, that's the beauty of... that's what we were talking about with Michael Carbajal when we interviewed him. He had heavy hands, and he would go for it. He would let his hands go, whack the body, whack the shoulders, top of the head, whatever. He put that power to good use. But there's so many punchers out there. They have that big punch, and they're just looking for the perfect shot, which, as you know, if you're looking for the perfect shot, you're not going to land it. And
sometimes you'll be waiting for the 12th round and that last bell, and you still haven't found it yet.
Exactly. So if you got power, go for it, man. Like, that's why I respected Marcus Maidana, because even the pre-Garcia version, because he would just go for it, man. Just whack you over the head, whack you on the body, the shoulder, arms, whatever, man. He let his hands go. He had heavy hands. He had rocks in them. Might as well put a hurting on the other guy, even if you don't land clean. And that's the other thing about Canelo, for example, because I was rewatching some Billy Joe Saunders fights, and he tends to lean in with those left hands. And Martin Murray was countering him to the body, or at least trying to, especially with an right uppercut to the body, but he just didn't have the power nor the timing to always get it there. Canelo, meanwhile, was timing Triple G a little bit, Kovalev, Callum Smith. So I think that's what he's just going to try to do. Every time Saunders tries to jump in with a jab or a left hand, he's just going to counter to the body. And again, that's going to make Saunders keep his hands, at his sides and not throw punches. Yeah. And again, we're going to get that whole thing of, the fight was fixed.
No, the other guy's just got a game plan that's better than yours, and he's carrying it out. I mean, I think Precise said it. He's going to lose because he's not the same fighter. He's not on that caliber level. That's just all there is to it. There's nothing else more than he made Lemieux look bad. Okay, Lemieux made up for his losses to who was that? He had 2 consecutive losses. One of them was to I would say journeyman. I can't remember his name right now.
It was Rubio and Alcine.
Yep. Who says Rubio? Or something. Rubio was the last name. I don't remember his first name.
Marco Antonio Rubio.
Marco Antonio Rubio, that's right. And then I forget the other gentleman's name he lost to afterwards. Then he went on a winning streak and won a title.
Right.
And good for him. But he lost to Triple G, and that was the end of his championship level ability. And then basically, to me, Billy Joe Saunders exposed what was left of what Triple G did. Mm-hmm. And that's his claim to fame. He outboxed David Lemieux. Okay, no disrespect to David Lemieux, but if he can't land his big punch and it goes to a boxing match, he's going to lose. So congratulations, you exposed him. What have you done since then? That was a couple years ago. It was more than a couple years ago. We're heading on 4 years ago since that fight.
Yeah, December 2017.
Yeah, I mean, okay, and this has gotten you. This has gotten you a fight with Canelo. Beware of what you wish for.
You know what, Jay? I actually thought he looked pretty good against Martin Murray. Murray, the only guy who's ever managed to stop him was Golovkin. And even then, I mean, that guy took a ferocious beating. Billy Joe Saunders uncharacteristically tried to walk him down, and it didn't really work out, but, I think he had his way more or less with Martin Murray. Now, again, Martin Murray, who is he really? Well, he's a strong guy who's got pretty good timing and a lot of experience. I thought that was a good performance. I thought he looked sharp in there, Billy Joe Saunders. I don't know what you think. Like, what did you think of that performance?
You actually made a good point there. You countered me well on that one. But again, Martin Murray, those like Devinchenko. Congratulations, you exposed the B side of everything. He's a tough fighter. He's good. Gatekeeper type. But the closest thing to an A-level fighter you beat is David Lemieux still.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's absolutely correct, man. And the other thing is Billy Joe Saunders, let's count his big wins. Chris Eubank, which was essentially a fight of between 2 prospects. The Andy Lee fight, but again, Andy Lee, good fighter, man. But he'd been dropped a couple of times, stopped a couple of times against Brian Vera or Brent. What was his name? Brian Vera, who's essentially another tough cookie, but again, nothing. Not a top 10 middleweight or a long-term top 10 middleweight. Not a lot of consistency there with his career. So Eubank, a prospect, Andy Lee, he had an awful performance against Akovov. I forget what his name was. He outboxed Willie Monroe. Okay, a guy with no power, speed and good defense, but really no power or world-class offense. Martin Murray, Lemieux. 2 good, solid wins. But Canelo's on another level. It's like when we say Andrade, look, good defense and everything, very elusive, but is it enough to beat Canelo? So that's essentially my question. Is it a sense of Billy Joe Saunders just not being all that, or is it that Canelo's just that good?
Well, Billy Joe Saunders gonna have to come into inside and within the the firing zone where you're gonna be able to trade punches to get any credit. You're not gonna be. I know Jay, you said that Billy Joe is like the bullfighter, but really, a bullfighter don't run around. Bullfighter don't run around the ring. A bullfighter holds his place and allows the bull to attack. Then he changes angle and kills the bull. Fighting like a bullfighter is more like the running of the bulls. He's always running away like he did against Lemieux. He's got to stay in the pocket and make it into exchanging. And he's got to exchange punches in order
not to win that fight. He won't. I understand what you're saying, but that ain't going to work against Canelo. Let me sum this up, and this will make sense. It's getting late over here, so I might be talking gibberish. But I think the only reason why Billy Joe Saunders is even relevant is the same reason why Khan is relevant. Okay, he was trying to unify the title. He kept mentioning Billy Joe Saunders, because that was the last belt he needed to hold all the belts. And he kept naming that name. That name is still somewhat resonating and relevant because people have heard it for so long. And now, of course, Canelo's taken that challenge. But that's the only reason why, just like Khan, the only reason why he was relevant for so long, because he disappeared off the face of the earth until Mayweather said, that's going to be my last fight. So because Mayweather mentioned Khan, he'd been in everyone's mouth for God only knows how long and didn't deserve it, but he was relevant because a famous fighter named him as a possible opponent. To me, that's the same thing with Billy Joe Saunders, but because a named, meaningful fighter kept mentioning his name is the only reason why we're really on this bandwagon that he deserves a shot at anything. I don't think he's really earned to be up there. I know he's undefeated. I know he's got a belt there, but I don't think he's really done anything to be a premier stamp on someone's career, nor do I think he's going to be able to pull it off against anybody. But he's still got it, and we're going to have to we won't have to live with it if he loses. It'll just be next.
He'll probably, depending on, I think he'll retire if he loses, because he's getting the type of payday that a guy like him, I think he's sort of maybe fed up a little bit. And I'm thinking he's gonna give it his all in the sense of what he can do stylistically. But yeah, I don't.
Yeah. You cannot see things 100%, but I'm just gonna say it's almost impossible that he's gonna knock out Canelo.
Yeah.
So he's got to comprehensively outbox him. Can he comprehensively outbox Canelo?
I think if Canelo decides to go in there and take the first shot and swing, I think that's gonna give Billy Joe Saunders a very good chance of making him miss. But I think what Canelo's gonna try to do is make the counterpuncher come to him. And like I said, counter him to the body, counter him with big hooks up. Canelo counters with some wide hooks that are hard because he's just so strong, and he seems to shock people. And I think that's what he's going to try to do with Billy Joe Saunders. And I think it's going to look a lot like the
Jacobs, right?
Yeah, the Jacobs fight more. Yeah, that's a better. Yeah. But by the way, Jay, do you have to go? You said
Jacobs more athletic, right? He's more athletic than Billy Joe. He's faster he's got a little bit more power.
But hold on,
he's got enough power to keep him more honest,
yeah. What is it? Billy Joe can make it a little bit trickier if he's like dexterous and utilizes his legs to find certain angles. I don't know.
I would say Jacobs is the naturally heavier-handed fighter than Saunders, even though he slaps a little bit with his shots. But I think he's a better inside fighter a little bit with those flurries to the body. I think he's like you said, he's a little bit more athletic, but I think Billy Joe Saunders has a better jab, a better stick.
Yeah, I could see that part. The only way he pulls this off by outboxing without slicking him to me is when Paul Williams had his first loss, and given Canelo's no Paul Williams. But 12:30 in the morning, so I can't remember anybody's name anymore. But that Puerto Rican gentleman that outslicked Paul Williams, they were both left-handies. Yeah, Quintana. Thank you so much. And
90 seconds.
Every time he missed him, he just every time Paul Williams missed a shot, he countered him and nailed him as hard as he could, and it kept Paul Williams honest. That's the only way Billy Joe's going to win, but I don't think that he's got the power. I don't think he's going to have the timing to do that. If he can do it, then I think he's got a good shot of making it look bad enough to where people can say, "Oh, Billy should have won that fight." But he's going to have to do it for 12 rounds, and he's going to have to do it against a guy who's got faster hands, has just as good a timing, and has a good chin. So if he can't do it, I don't think he can win. On that note, gentlemen, good morning or good night, and thank you for having me on as always.
All right, thank you, Jay. Thank you for dropping by, man. And great point about that, about Billy Joe Saunders. I think that, that's the way I see it. He's not gonna comprehensively outbox Canelo. He's not gonna outslug him. And at the end of the day, look, I hope he pulls off the upset so we can finally get maybe a Canelo out of the way or whatever. And there's a lot bigger fights out there for me, or more interesting fights in other divisions than Canelo fighting Caleb Plant and even the Benavides, who I think is a hot and cold fighter. So anyway, Jay, thank you for joining us, man. Really appreciate it, man. And you got
Good
have
night.
yourself. Yeah.
Good night or good morning, and I'll see you next time. Thank you as always for having me.
No problem, man. Thank you for being on.
Jay.
Good night, Gonzalo. I hope your son comes home soon.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the tracheal tube, but I cannot find it. Size 1 or size 2, there's none in the Philippines. Trying to get it from the United States.
I
hope you get one soon. I'll keep them in my prayers for you, buddy.
Yeah, man. Thanks.
Good night.
Yeah, we're all praying there, Gonzalo, that everything turns out good, man. In regards to the Canelo fight, yeah, listen, I'm fucking Canelo, man. I mean, we got Lamides Taylor, we got Estrada Sorong Visay coming up. Maybe the winner of that takes on Gonzalez. Maybe Gonzalez could take on Ioka or Donny Nietes. As it pertains to the
Carl Frampton versus Harry, no?
Yeah, that time. Is it this weekend? No, it's not this weekend. It's the.
I heard it was this weekend. Maybe I heard wrong.
This weekend is Povetkin White.
I'm picking Povetkin. Like the movie, the Apollo Creed's trainer, when he told Apollo Creed, he's all wrong for you, baby. He's all wrong.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that tomorrow, or if it's not tomorrow, then on the previous show, whatever day it might be, probably tomorrow. Jermell Herring versus Frampton. That's on April the 3rd, so it's next, not this Saturday, the next. That's actually Crawford's a very good fighter. I mean, Frampton's a very good fighter, underrated. But Jermell Herring, man, very elusive. He's hungry. Hey, Donny Nietes, incidentally.
Yeah.
Donny Nietes is slated to fight on that same day on the undercard against TBA.
Oh. He disappeared for a while, no?
Yeah, he was. From what people were telling me, he was retired, but I guess I think he's with what's that? Not Matchroom, the European, the other
Frank Warren.
No, the one where the Usyk and all those guys. I think Billy Joe Saunders is with them.
MTK Global, something like that.
I think he's with MTK. Yeah. Hold on, let me check.
What I saw Frampton got? It's interesting. You know how people that go to the body, usually it's the shovel hook that's coming like a little down, up, kind of at an angle, looking for the liver. Frampton is so short, his center of gravity is so low that he's so short that when he shoots to the body, it's almost like he's shooting a hook to the head from side to side. He turns and it's like a level plane. Side to side. It's almost like he's shooting to the head. He's so short and squat that when he turns, he's not turning up like a shovel hook. He's turning like a hook, but he's actually hooking to the body. You get a lot of power off that. And Harry's kind of skinny. We'll see.
Yeah, he's a weird fighter, Frampton. Very short and short T-Rex arms, but he's
generates a lot of force with the hooks.
Yeah, he's a heck of at 126. He was a bona fide puncher. He could take guys out, man. And he's got very good boxing skills too. People forget he outboxed down there, took less damage than he knew it did. So he's a very dangerous.
Oh wow,
fighter.
That's right, huh?
But at 130 though, I don't know, man. Or no, it's still 130. I mean, I don't know if he could still make 126. But look, be that as it may, Gonzalo, it's 12:30 over here. I'm gonna call it a night. But thank you for joining us, Gonzalo. And again, prayers to you and your family. Hope everything turns out fantastic and everything turns out great. I mean,
I'm camping out here in the ICU.
All right, man. Stay strong, man. Stay strong. That's all you can do, man. You're doing everything you can.
Yep.
And thank you again for joining us, man. You get yourself some rest, and everybody else as well. Get yourself some rest. We'll be back probably tomorrow. And I did say we were gonna do a second renaissance on serial killers. That's coming up soon. I said 2 days, and it's been past 2 days. But hey, listen, it's in the pipeline. Don't forget it. I mean, don't think I've forgotten it. Other than that, thanks to everybody that donated with the super chat. I'm talking about Chris K, Virtuoso, Jaguar. Thanks to everybody that called in, everybody that dropped by the Discord. I'm talking about Stu dropped by, Boxing Chief aka Jay, Gonzalo, of course. Thank you guys for joining us. And everybody that stayed up late for this extra comfy stream. King Bucho saying, see ya people, Sick, Nutty, Simpkins, Aiku, Norman Luis, Teddy Brockery, Travis the Chimp, Don Dada, Bold Hype, Chris K, the aforementioned Chris K, and everybody else, Norman Luis, Carlos Ruiz. Thank you guys for joining us. Really appreciate it. Shout out to everybody. Have a good night. Catch some Z's. And we'll see you in the next one, folks. Take it easy. Thank you for watching.